Hey, grace and peace, everybody. We're back. Happy Friday evening. Happy Friday night lights to you all. Thank you so much for stopping by. You saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. You know what we're going to be doing. We're going to clear out some of these videos that you all have been recommending to the podcast. You all have been just killing it. So thank you all so much. There's been some great video suggestions. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up 3 of them tonight. We're going to go over them. We're going to see what y'all got going on. I also got some good feedback from you all that you all enjoyed the cleaning palette episode. So we have Mr. Ami Kozak. He's going to be helping us between segments, adding a little bit of comedic relief. Thank you all so much to everybody who's already jumped into the best live chat on the planet. Make sure you drop your like number in the chat as well. We live, baby. Absolutely. Yes, we are. 1729. Yes, indeed, we are. There's Tina in the building. Grace and peace to you too, friend. Thank you so much for holding it down. Tina, thank you so much. Tracy, good evening to you. There she is, West Virginia Wire. Grace and peace to you, friend. How are you? Good to see you. All right. Thank you so much for dropping those links in the chat to the moderators. Thank you. And what's Tracy say here? Shame on Candace's family for allowing her to carry on. She needs help. You do. I did think about that. Why is her family not stepping in and saying something like, yo, Auntie Candace, you out of control. Candace, you know you're doing too much. Or her husband, dear, why are you behaving like this? There's got to be a reason why. There's got to. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be a reason. Shout out. Great commentary. Real quick, checking the audio real quick. I think it sounds pretty good. Pretty splendiferous even. Dare I say. Absolutely. Good people up in here jumping into the chat. Now, new to the party, number 5. What about you? What's your number? What's your like number? Make sure you drop it in the chat. All right, there we go. Oh, there we go. Now we cooking. How are you doing, Nicole? Good to see you. Grace and peace to you as well. Oh, now they're getting it in. Now we all the way up to 12. What number are we on? How about this one? How about I didn't hit the like button? What's up with that? I put myself in timeout. Good gracious. How am I doing that? All right. Shout out to everybody. Thank y'all so much for popping in on this evening and hanging out with us. So I've asked, and you all have more than answered the call. Say, hey, man, if you run across any content you think I should look at, whatever like that. And some of you all have just been crushing it. Thank you so much for the articles, the videos, the clips, all of that stuff. Thank you so much for it. So there have been some that have bubbled up to the top. Not that any of them are better than others, but some have just caught my eye. So I want to pull up this new fellow. I've never met him before. His name is Steve. I'm a butcher it. I'm gonna say DeSace is his name, and seems like a good content creator. He's on the Blaze Network. I don't know. I saw that too. I noticed that as well. I think it's because she didn't have makeup on, in my opinion, Joe. I think I don't think she was makeuped up. I don't think she was glammed up. I don't think she was glammed up like she usually is. She's glammed up on when we watch her during the watch party, which, by the way, we'll start the watch party back next week. As soon as she goes live, we're going to go live and watch it together. Okay. My husband and brother took me to get help in 2001, December 8th, 2001. Well, there we go. They need to take Candace, though. They need to take Candace. Somebody that loves Candace needs to tell her, look, you wilding out. And I've always made this point. I've always made this point that when somebody's behaving like this, to this degree and magnitude, it's very possible they don't have any friends. Like, I can't imagine me behaving like this on the national stage, behaving like this, and nobody coming knocking on my door, no friend of mine coming up saying, hey, bro, what are you doing, man? Nobody calling me, nobody texting me saying, man, what's going on? Either A, Candace don't have any friends, or B, nobody cares enough to try to help her out, or C, I think A and B are the same thing. Like, if somebody doesn't care about you enough to tell you that look, you out of control, maybe you don't have any friends. Maybe you really don't have anybody who can actually speak to you. Now, there is another realistic option that she just ignores, the people that tell her that she needs to calm down or tamper it down or whatever like that. But that's okay. The Macrons and the various and sundry lawsuits that are going to be coming her way, I guess they'll help her out. But real quick, let's talk about Steve here. He was talking about Lady Candace, and I don't remember who it was that told me about this video. I have to open up my email. But it looks like a great video, and so I want to bring it in and let y'all check it out with me together. We're going to check it out together even. Let's do it like that. All right, let us go. We're going to do those green hearts in the chat when we can hear. Let's go.
And when this is done, I will offer you this trade up front, and then I'll offer it on the back end. Just to demonstrate this is about nothing other than having a toxic presence, polluting the worldviews of our potential audiences. I will trade anyone in this audience right now. I'll make you this trade. I'll offer you this trade. Don't ever listen to me again if you'll never listen to Candace Owens again. I'll take the trade. Take the trade right now. 1-to-1. You promise to turn me off? As long as you never listen to her again, I'll take the trade, because that's how toxic of a presence I think that she has become. And when you see clips like this, and these aren't isolated clips, guys, we could have done what Aaron did in that montage. I can't tell you how many times we could have done that in the last couple of years, but especially in the last year. A lot. But again, hey, we all may have a personal disdain for it, but not our thing. We're plowing our row. She's plowing hers. We don't have time for that. Well, now these rows are intersecting, and I see it in my own inbox. This woman is either demonically possessed, oppressed, or deceived, mentally ill, has grifted so hard on always being the person to find the psyop that she's just, self-induced mental retardation because she's OD'd on her own grift. Like an I'm going to get you sucker over gold. OG is different. Not over gold like an I'm going to get you sucker. Over grifted. OG'd.
I love it. Over grifted.
Or, and this is my personal favorite option, and probably the one I'm going to go with. This woman is actually the psyop.
Tell me about that. What do you mean?
To quote Paul Harvey, if I were the devil, and I wanted to absolutely subvert a movement of people that for the first time in more than a generation is calling America back to God, what better way for me to do it than to take an attractive black woman, have her say a bunch of conservative things because white boomers have been completely worked over their entire lives with false smears of racism. And so they will literally take anyone with more melanin in their skin, literally anyone with a double-digit IQ and more melanin in their skin, and they will take them and elevate them as a person in a platform for saying conservative things so they can say, see, I'm not the racist. Start there. Gain a foothold there. Gain credibility there. Attach yourself to other subversive movements, Kanye West, medical freedom. I'm not drawing a moral equivalency between those two, but a situational one. Do that in order to gain credibility. And you just stay below the radar because these are things the mainstream never wants to get into and discuss anyway. And so you can just stay, you build it just enough that you're right at the water level, but you don't pop your head above the board because that's when it might get chopped off if noticed too quickly. So you keep it just right there and you're just kind of floating right there, close to the water. And that gives you enough latitude to build an audience of desperate people whose critical thinking skills have been absolutely destroyed by the vaccine known as postmodernism. So their mental autoimmune system is completely diminished. Not to mention, they can't get the antidote when they go to church on Sunday.
Wow.
They get, heterodoxy according to Russell Moore and J.D. Greer instead.
Dang, he hitting everybody.
So you're just high enough that it looks like you've got it going on and you know something, but not so high that your head's above water and it's going to get chopped off. And you just draw that audience to you. Subtle.
Okay, I got to back that up a little bit. He is Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if it's dinner time where you are, but my goodness, in the morning, Steve is serving it up. Everybody catching it tonight. Let me back up just a little smidgen because that was some good stuff. He said, you're going to get it. You're going to get both of these barrels.
And I wanted to absolutely subvert a movement of people that for the first
I'm
time
backed up too far.
in more than a generation is calling America back to God. What better way for me to do it than to take an attractive black woman, have her say a bunch of conservative things because white boomers have been completely worked over their entire lives with false smears of racism. And so they will literally take anyone with more melanin in their skin, literally anyone with a double-digit IQ and more melanin in their skin, and they will take them and elevate them as a person in a platform for saying conservative things so they can say, see, I'm not the racist. Start there. Gain a foothold there. Gain credibility there. Attach yourself to other subversive movements, Kanye West, medical freedom. I'm not drawing a moral equivalency between those two, but a situational one. Do that in order to gain credibility. And you just stay below the radar because these are things the mainstream never wants to get into and discuss anyway. And so you can just stay, you build it just enough that you're right at the water level, but you don't pop your head above the board because that's when it might get chopped off if noticed too quickly. So you keep it just right there and you're just kind of floating right there, close to the water. And that gives you enough latitude to build an audience of desperate people whose critical thinking skills have been absolutely destroyed by the vaccine known as postmodernism. So their mental autoimmune system is completely diminished. Not to mention, they can't get the antidote when they go to church on Sunday.
Dang.
Because they get, heterodoxy according to Russell Moore and J.D. Greer instead.
He ain't playing.
So you're just high enough that it looks like you've got it going on and you know something, but not so high that your head's above water and it's going to get chopped off. And you just draw that audience to you. Subtlety. Subversiveness. And little by little, you just start asking questions. Maybe it's the Jews. Eventually it becomes, of course it is the Jews. You ask questions about things that can't ever be empirically proven false or true.
Right.
So you're like nailing Jell-O to a wall. And people that have rightly been worked over and are looking for voices that will speak to that, they are the ones that now end up defending you while you're deconstructing them. Classic abuser relationship. I lived through that. I know exactly what it looks like. My mom and I would literally, depending on if I was the one that was beaten by Dave, Mom would say we have to leave and I'd talk her out of it. And she was unbeaten. I would say we have to leave and she'd talk me out of it.
Man.
He's really sorry this time. You grow more and more of a following just asking questions as more and more lies are told. Of course, no one ever demands you actually show them the truth. And when you get things wrong, like you don't know what the time zone of Utah is,
Facts.
that's just gaslit and wiped away and never to be brought up again.
Man, come on.
And you do it over and over and over and over and over again.
This rascal's cooking.
If I were the devil, or if you were, could you concoct a better way to take the movement that Charlie has inspired, mobilizing more people to speak out more boldly for their faith in everyday language than I have seen in my entire life, and I've lived half a century? Could you think of a better way to subvert that movement than following this particular process with this person that has gone right down this road, gaining this amount of credibility, so that then that person, then right when their credibility has reached its zenith, can now turn and spend that capital deconstructing, diminishing, and demoralizing the very movement that likely most threatens your hegemony in this culture at the time.
And using big words.
And you know what? Now that I think about it, I don't know that's happening. I'm just asking questions. That's all I'm doing. I'm just asking questions. How would we know it's not true?
Wow.
What? I'm not allowed to ask these questions? There needs to be an Overton window on the right. We have to have gatekeepers? I can't ask these questions? Who gets to ask the questions of the Ask the Questioners? Where do we go for the answers? This woman is a paralyzing force. This is not the kind of stuff that motivates and mobilizes people to go and be better, to go and do likewise.
Very good.
It's paralyzing. It's lint in the navel gazing.
And before he goes any further, let me real quick. Shout out to the 94 that have jumped into the live chat. Thank y'all so much. Real quick, all the candies, make sure you get up here to the front of the church. Y'all need to get this word. Good gracious. Y'all make room for the candies. Let the candies get up here to the front of the church. My goodness, in the morning. He is cooking. All right, so this is Steve Deace. I believe his name is proper pronounced. Shout out to the moderators for putting his link in the chat. And he is cooking. So I'm sorry I stopped. I interrupted y'all. Please forgive me. Don't put me in timeout. But my goodness, in the morning, I was not prepared for this. I've not watched this, so I'm getting this firsthand. Good gravy. Let's go.
And we're getting to the point with this ridiculousness now that I think it has to be confronted, frankly. Because this is nihilism.
I agree. I do agree with that.
To use the vastness of your platform to demoralize God's people just as Charlie's martyring is being stirred up is either one hell of a coincidence and completely misguided, or one hell of a diversion. In either option, what's the operative word there in either one of those options, gentlemen? Hell. That's the operative term. That's the term that applies in both.
Wow.
So now I will offer you this trade again. Fine. Don't ever listen to me again as long as you don't listen to her. Because that's how much of a cancer this woman has become. More in a moment.
Wow. All right. Yo, is that what he does all the time? Man, I know I subscribed. Goodness gracious, I'm going to have to go back in the archives. Is this what he always does?
Moxie Pest Services, as the weather.
All right, it looks like he's doing an ad read right here. So shout out to that. Wow, that was, let me see if I can jump past. It looks like an ad. Okay, right here. It looks like it might end right there. All right, let's see.
Protective barrier around your home before the pests even think about moving in. This is some kind of DIY spray from the heart.
All right. No, he's not wrong at all. Steve was cooking. Okay. I'm going to have to check Steve out more often for sure. I was not prepared. Shout out to Steve bringing that noise. I love it. I love it. Let's see where we are. Let's get done with this ad.
This $25 for your first service from Moxie Pest Services. Just to help them celebrate their silver anniversary, their 25th anniversary. It's just $25 for your very first pest service. And I don't think it's a coincidence at all that it comes right at the time that we are seeing more boldness on our side than we have ever seen when it comes to the things of God. And if you're one of those that's like, well, she's just asking questions. Okay, well, why can't I ask questions?
Facts.
Is Candace Owens a demonic deceiver? Just asking questions. Did Candace Owens self-retard herself from OGing over Grifton? Just asking questions.
Overgrift is crazy.
She likes to ask questions about Jews. Has she allowed the Jews to retard her? Just asking questions. See, we can all do this. We can do this both ways. Or can we? Because what you're often going to find is, with these kinds of forces, you can't. But if I were the devil, I'd make the very thing that thinks they spot every single psyop the actual psyop. particularly at a time like now.
Yeah,
When
that's
our
kind of
ability
wild.
to compartmentalize, to nuance, to distinctify is severely weakened from what's happened epistemologically in our culture for the last generation. There's a lot of people that know this, and they don't want to say anything. One, because Charlie and family and TPUSA have been through enough. Two, there's going to be a lot of smoke for this.
What do you mean?
But in my case, I have just enough of an audience that I think it can make a difference, and not so much so that I've got a ton to lose here. I'm not a millionaire or anything. I make a nice living. But I'd hope, and I'd like to think that even if I were, I'd be saying these exact same things that I'm saying here today.
He's got a
This has
decent
gone on
size.
for too
Yeah.
long, and it's gone too far. And just in my view, and it's my show, so my view is what counts in the end. And my integrity and my credibility is what you'll get to judge. And you'll get to determine whether you think I'm right or whether you think I'm wrong. And I'm fine living by that standard. But just like I thought when one of our biggest voices was out there shaming people into taking a toxic genetic serum. And it just so happened at that particular point in time, I had co-written the best-selling book written about the entire COVID subject yet. So yeah, I kind of felt like that was a moment where the streams crossed and we had to address that. Just like at another time, we had some of the biggest names in our movement trying to promote our own tranny mascot. Right at the time that on our show, we're trying to lead the fight and to not accept the premise of this from the very beginning. So I kind of thought, yeah, we need to address that. There's going to be a lot of crossover and carryover in these kinds of audiences, right? So I kind of think the same thing applies here. Right at the time that we are trying to carry the moment of Charlie's martyrdom and make it a permanent, standing, generationally transforming movement. And by Charlie's grace that he did not have to show me. He did not have to show me that grace. He did not. He owed me nothing. But by Charlie's grace, on a small level, he involved me in what he was involved in.
Okay.
There has been a group of us that have been informally trying to take the giant mustard seed that he left us and grow it. I watched the clip we played yesterday of Sarah Gonzalez saying women murdering their own children in the womb. Fox News would have never allowed that on the air a couple of years ago. Hell, Fox News wasn't allowing Charlie on the air a couple of years ago. For the first time in my career, we're actually framing debates with the terminology that needs to be used and said in order to win it. I mean, I've been saying for the last year plus, I'm flirting with optimism for the first time in my life. Or at least since I've been doing this for a living. And just at that time now, we're going to make one of the largest platforms on our side someone who just persists in the most unprovable, untenable, paralyzing content you could possibly devise to stillborn this exact moment right when it's about to be birthed? My answer is no. Nope. No.
He ain't playing.
So my answer to the question, do I have enemies to my right? When you get in the way of me winning on the right, then you're my enemy. Whichever side you claim to be on. This is son of the devil kind of level rebuke stuff. Tell how many zeros are going to download your podcast today? Just to give up, quit, nothing matters. Right at the moment that they're the most inspired they have ever been. And that leaves us with 4 options. This person is demonically possessed, oppressed, or deceived. This person has mental illness issues that need treated. This person has grifted so hard that they've just over-grifted. They've OD'd. They've OG'd.
OD'd and OG.
They've actually been the psyop they've been warning you about all along.
Wow.
And I love that option the most. I don't know which one is true because I don't know her. I just know BS when I see it. I know abusive BS when I see it, and that's what this is. But the reason I love the 4th option so much, because it just hoists her from her own petard. That's what she does. Just asking questions. What's wrong with just asking questions? Was it the Jews? Tune in tomorrow. Was it the Jews? Turn in the next day. Was it the Jews? Tune in the day after that. I don't know. Well, was it Candace? Tune in. We'll do that show. Was it Candace? Tune in tomorrow. Was it Candace? Tune in the next day. Was it Candace? Tune in the day after that. And it's all fun and games until someone gets arrested for threatening Seth Dillon's life. One of your followers. I mean, I don't know. It kind of seems to me if we're going to point out that Floyd Corkins had a bunch of Bernie Sanders stuff in his trunk before he went and shot up the Family Research Council, kind of seems to me it ought to be relevant that a guy that threatened Seth Dillon's life was only following 5 people on X, and she was one of them. Kind of seems relevant. Seems, again, we're just asking questions. That's all we're doing. Just asking. Ask away. Commence. Oh, asking of questions. Festival of question asking. Ask them all. Every last one.
Steve ain't
Our
playing.
show has gotten to the point. People, you guys have emailed me sometimes. Hey, things are so tough, man. I got to tune out for a while. You know what I've told every single one of you? Then do it. Take a Sabbath. We don't need breaks. We get sick of each other. We get sick of this. But I don't care if it's Steve Deace, Candace Owens, or your mom. If you are consuming content in this space and it's not inspiring you to be better than you were before you started consuming it, don't ever consume it again. Whatever the reasons are. Life is short. Redeem the time, St. Paul says, for the days are evil. You don't have time for that. The last thing we need is more nihilistic paralysis as a movement. Right when we're taking the baby steps of actually being a movement. And the root word of movement is what, gentlemen? What's the root word of movement?
Would it be move?
Move! We're just beginning to move and do stuff. And right at that time, along comes Candace Owens to say, actually, there's no hope. And Trump's a Zionist cuck. Just asking questions. Well, I'm just asking questions. Have you been the demonic psyop the entire time? Or were you not aware you were one and you were a useful idiot yourself? Just asking questions. That's all I'm doing. Just asking. We can all just keep asking questions over and over and over again, right, Tom? We can just ask questions. I think it's only fair.
Only fair.
Ask questions of the question askers. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Yeah, she established the rules.
I'm just playing by the same rules.
She
Yes.
established the rules. And the primary rule, the mother rule of all the other rules is narcissism. I mean, you see there where she's just looking up around and I just know it. I just know it.
You
It's
just
not
know
even
it. That's
about you.
crazy.
Yeah. Well, but it isn't. But with her, it is. And that's why, when she's talking about, she's trying to attach herself as closely as possible to Charlie's martyrdom because she's quite frankly, she's seeking out her own. I mean, she's going after now the president in such a slanderous way that it almost makes it like she's looking for an opportunity to have a legal action against her so she can be in the spotlight. When you're this narcissistic, you become very, very self-destructive. It reminds me, if we want to go pop culture when it actually was useful, pop culture, the second Wonder Woman movie, she Saturday Night Live comedian, but the Cheetah, wasn't that her name? Mm-hmm. She started off a relatively innocent woman, but she was so narcissistic in terms of her insecurities that she ended up becoming a supervillain because she could never turn the eye switch off. And that's what Candace clearly cannot do. At all points, it's always about her. And she's lighting herself on fire right in front of all of us. And apparently she has no one around her who will do anything but clap and say more.
Wow.
Somebody just replied,
Hold on.
Jill Neal, about Candace, I'll ask again. Did you ever reach out to her in private when you...
Forget that. That's a moot point. That I'm going to tell you right now, the reach out in private argument is not relevant in this discussion. It's not relevant. So please don't bring Matthew 18 in here because it doesn't apply. But let me real quick tell y'all, the poll question, it only allows me to do 4 options. I don't have an all the above option. I would love to have an all the above option, but I can't do an all the above option. People are crazy, man. Yo, these people are crushing it. Was it you, West Virginia Wire? Somebody, whoever, everybody in the chat, put West Virginia Wire. I believe West Virginia is the one that told me about this. It might have been somebody else also. I know West Virginia emailed it to me as well, but y'all put West Virginia name in the chat because this is a fantastic video. I did not watch it either, by the way. So I'm watching this first time ever with y'all. And this is spot on the money right here. This is excellent. No, thank you. Thank you, West Virginia Wire. By the way, fantastic content creator. If I didn't mention that, by the way, y'all go check out what she's doing over there. But let's finish this up. This is excellent. I cannot say I agree enough. Oh, don't worry. I got What Do You Meme next. What Do You Meme is slated next for this. But I don't know. We might be here all night. We could be here all night with this one because this is perfect. I am so glad I ran across this. Thank y'all so much. Okay, let's keep it going.
First thought she was going astray. You both profess to be Christians.
Okay,
Did she ever reach out to anybody in the White House when she thought they were about to go astray?
Right.
Why is that?
I'm gonna push back and say, first things first, Candace is not a Christian. So I'm not under that same obligation. But please understand, we're not making small little boo-boos or small little oopsies, right? This is a grand scale issue. So I don't think that let me call you and talk about this, in whisper voices is even applies. I'd be willing to hear anybody tell me otherwise, but no, we're talking about a grand scale. This is not just hey, I thought 2 + 2 = 5. No, you put this out there on the grand stage and have turned yourself into a meme, for crying out loud. No, there's no reason for anybody to go tiptoe around Candace. Candace is completely out of pocket. And I say it emphatically with my whole chest. Candace is not a Christian. Period. End of day. Catch me outside. All right, but let's keep it going, man. Shout out.
This only. Why does accountability only, or question asking only cut one way?
Right.
Plus, these are public comments. These aren't private conversations. We're not going to even the same church together. These are public conversations. By that standard, you could never make any statement whatsoever about anybody's public comments until you have followed a 6-tiered process. I mean, I don't know. Did Paul? How many times did Paul reach out to Demas before he wrote at the end, "He's deserted me"? Do you know the answer to that? That's just absolute ridiculousness.
The number of times I've been copied on tweets, hey, I don't see your show asking questions. What questions? Can you be specific? I don't see you following the inconsistencies of the narrative. Please, again, if you have some specific examples of inconsistencies, bring those when you copy on those tweets. Because, there are some questions that I still have as well about the overall thing, but it's not. You mean
the text exchange?
The text.
Hello, I will shoot Charlie tomorrow at 1:30. What do you think about this?
That I have, but please be specific, because all I see are vague generalities, kind of along the lines of, "We all feel it." Did you catch that line? We all feel. It's just.
If you watch maybe I should pull in the video that she did yesterday from the book club, and all she's talking about is feelings. Like there's nothing concrete. There's nothing. Substance. There's nothing objective. It's all subjective. We all feel, we know, we think, we have this hunch in our hearts and our minds, in the left achy toenail and my weak knee. I mean, like there's nothing concrete that you can build off of. It's crazy work, man. It's crazy work. And I really hope I'm praying seriously that she comes back to a disappointing live stream on Monday. A disappointing live stream. I mean, total collapse of her platform on Monday. Total collapse. I mean, like 13 people watching. That's how crazy I'm talking about. I want a total collapse. I mean, I want more people watching my live chat, watching her live chat than she actually has. I mean, that's it. Again, like, it needs to be that kind of demonstrative. And I've said this before. This is her Nebuchadnezzar moment. I think she's already crossed the Rubicon and she's become Nebuchadnezzar, has lost his mind in the book of Daniel. I think this is where she is now. She's already lost her mind. And I think the other host a moment ago was talking about narcissists are set on destruction. What do you think that whole Macron case is? I mean, that's set on destruction. She's picking a fight with the president of France. Now she's accusing the president of the United States. She's set on destruction. She's literally set. Press X for destruct. So, yeah, this is going to be crazy work. Let's get done, Jason. Excellent job. Thank y'all so much for this.
Manipulative. And I do have compassion. I'm angry at her, but I do have compassion, and I do feel sorry for a lot of individuals who might have been waking up, might have been ready to take action, and have gotten sucked into this vortex. Because as soon as I heard her say, I've lost faith in politics, I've lost faith in Donald Trump, and ultimately this show is a biblical worldview. Our ultimate faith isn't in politics. It's not in one figure. But when I heard her say that, to me, the best case scenario is that this is a demoralization op. That's the best case scenario. What would you be doing any differently if you were just trying to demoralize vast swaths of people? Right?
This is during the political campaign, they got the mudslinging ads, and the mudslinging ads have been proven that they don't help the candidate who's throwing the mud. His base or her base is not going to change their mind. They're already going to vote for that person. So if I'm in a mudslinging campaign against Amethyst Angel, because Amethyst Angel just blessed us with $5 super, shout out to her, and I'm in a mudslinging campaign against her, the people that are already going to vote for me are going to always vote for me. The mudslinging is really to demoralize, as this young man right here is saying, shout out to him, is to demoralize Amethyst Angel's base and vice versa. That's what that's for. Thank you so much for the $5 super. What did she say here? Call her Mrs. Farmer. It'll suck her identity from her. Now that would be funny. Y'all, it'll be an original superior psyop. Where are my psyop linguists? That's a good one. We could start calling her Mrs. Farmer. That would be fun. Okay, let me work on it. Let me get it in my mind, because also you got to remember the algorithm. The algorithm likes Candace Owens. So if we say Candace Farmer, the algorithm don't know who that is. Shout out to Sheena Ray with the $5. Thank you. This is awesome. I appreciate you. Thank you for the $5 super. And MT, thank you for doing this as well. In 2015, when she was a leftist, she wrote on her website, Degree 180, about her old white Republicans, Tea Party, need to die off, social change to happen. Wow. I don't think she ever left that. I don't think she ever left that party. I don't think she ever left the left, ever. She has found a way to get in this space. Okay, a shout out for sure. Let's go.
At the moment when maybe they have the most political power they've ever had, or maybe ever will have. Maybe that latter thing is the point. Again, just asking questions. I'm just speaking of John Brennan and the montage. It makes me sad. This actually makes me sad. And not in a stuck-up way. Not in a stuck-up way. There are people out there who are actually looking for the truth. I'm sure there are people who just want the next conspiracy theory, down the rabbit hole, dopamine hit. I'm sure there are a lot of people like that. But I do think that there are people who, and it's understandable in the aftermath of 2020, who legitimately are questioning everything, but they also want answers. And when the question everything crowd has one of two answers, or no answers, or inferences, or insinuations, instead of here's how to discern, here's how to be discriminatory, and I mean discriminatory as a virtue, that's just a recipe for disaster.
Wow.
Now, here's the cautionary tale for all of us. How do you go from we need to question pretty much everything in our day and age to not ending up in the very ditch this woman is in.
I know.
And this is where the core of your worldview comes into play. That's why it's not about the asking of questions. It's about where we go for the answers. And eventually someone has to be worshiped. You'll put yourself in that position. You'll put your narrative in that position. You'll put your career in that position. You'll put your pagan religion in that position. Something, though, will occupy that position. Or it'll be the Word of God. Those are your choices. Christ or chaos. Those have been the only two choices all along. And if you're listening to somebody that doesn't draw you closer to Christ, stop listening.
Wow. Steve Deese in the building. Shout out. So that is actually the end of that segment. And apparently they're going to go to a different segment anyway. So we are going to go ahead and transition from that. I do want to, before we bring in Ami Kozak to help clean our palates, let me play for you the clip that we were referring to in the segment where Candace is talking about she lost hope and
people into AI. I have always sensed this demonic because I'm telling you, I don't even think these people are human. Like I look at Elon Musk and Sam Altman and Peter Thiel, and I'm pretty sure they're hybrid. You know what I mean? Like they just look like an Apple software that I should be able to download at night, you know, like when my phone's getting an update or something. It's something in the eyes. Like, I don't know. I'm like, I know I'm human, but I don't know if I stabbed you if you bleed, you know, I'm not going to stab them. But I don't know if they bleed all the way. I think a battery would fall out. You know what I mean? And I just get that sense. I've always known it was demonic. And people just get.
But there's no evidence to what she's saying. That's the part that has got to be amazing. If you're Candy, explain that. Like, she's not giving any evidence. It feels. I just sense. I just know. But how do you feel sense know? What is the objective reality that you feel sense know this? Because if I look at it, I don't see what you're talking about. So what am I supposed to see that will cause me to also feel the same way that you feel, Candace? Watch it. Let her go.
On board because, as we talked about in this book, they are using science and this idea of technology and this idea of transforming society for the better to indoctrinate us into accepting this. And it's wrong and it's backwards. And the main component of all of this is psychology, right? They're able to do it because of psychology, making you think that society has gotten better. Our kids have objectively gotten dumber. We've become fatter. We've become less healthy. We've become less emotionally sound.
The fact that she said emotionally sound and didn't like spontaneously combust is a pure sign that God is gracious and merciful even to the worst of us. Ma'am, you're not emotionally sound at all. Not even a little smidgen. Ma'am, the fact that you did not explode into a complete fireball when you said that, look, that shows you that God is gracious. That God extends grace to us well beyond our needs, well beyond our ability to accept it. That's it right there. If you didn't know, if you did not believe that God was gracious, that sentence, I'm going to back up a little bit so you can hear it again. And you too can realize that God's grace is real.
Emotionally sound. And yet they are convincing us that this is like humanity's great leap forward. We put a man on the moon and he just like called them up and was like, hey, Prez, what's up? I'm up here. Yeah, it's so cool. It's really great. It's nice. Starry night up here. Okay, I'm going to text you. I go by in 69. And
why is she dry snitching on the moon landing? How did we get from where we are today in 2025 all the way back to the 1960s with the moon landing? Now, whether or not you think the moon landing happened or not exactly, I don't know. I'm not here to argue that. But how did we get from a moon landing? I'm sorry, how do we get from where we are in 25 all the way back to the 1960s? Help me make that make sense. Square that peg. Like, what are we doing here? Candace, Lord have mercy. Like, this break has been different for her. I'm wondering, is she doing this in the asylum? Like, does she have her phone and she's in the asylum in a corner in the hallway or something on level 5? Like, where is she doing this?
And they get these people, they tell you like he's a genius, real old. they're all writing like he's a genius, so we should just accept that Elon Musk is a genius, because like all the writers who are obviously indoctrinated into the occult are telling us that this is the next person that we should worship. The establishment of Hollywood, it was all occults. They were all Aleister Crowley proteges who were just raping kids and summoning demons, and demons are real. So at the same time, if they're
You know what? That's probably the only statement that she's made that I feel like we can all agree to. Yes, demons are real. We are watching one right now. We are watching one in 4K talk in the, level 5 in the hallway of her asylum. I what in the world is wrong with this woman?
summoning demons, they are making us all believe that faith is not real. And that has been, I think, the great
Okay, for the life of me, I've been trying to figure this out. I've watched this several times, and I cannot figure out what she's saying right here. They're summoning demons. They want us to believe that something's not real. What is she saying?
they are making us all believe that faith is not real.
I don't know what she's saying. What is she saying is not real? Let me get another running start.
Demons, they are making us all believe that faith is not real.
Okay. Wait, okay. So you're saying, okay. That's what I thought she was saying as well. And this is why I bring that up. Maybe this is why it's so confusing to me. She rarely talks about anything concrete as it relates to her spiritual journey or spirituality, whatever. So I'm wondering, like, how did faith come into this? Like, where did faith come in? Like, you've been talking about demons. You just dry snitched on the moon landing. You call Elon Musk a cyborg. And now you're talking about faith. Like, what are we watching? What is going on here? I could not. I'm like, why would she be talking about faith? I think she might. You all are probably right. You all are probably right. She's probably saying faith. But why? Like, you just got done calling Elon Musk an Apple software update that bleeds batteries. The moon landing didn't happen. All this kind of craziness, and then you throw faith in. What are you talking about? What are you really talking about, Candace? You need a hug. She need a hug. And George Farmer needs to hug her with that white coat that straps up in the back. Good gracious.
That has been, I think, the greatest trick that the devil ever played, right? Is making people think that he didn't exist and making people atheist, making people believe that there's nothing, like you're here for a moment in time, because then it allows them to further tether us to their reality and to their God, which is money, right? Well, if you truly knew and believed, like I do, I actually know that this is not it. Like I know this is not it.
How do you know that? Okay, wait. I know too. And I can give you why I know that there is an eternity, that once we close our eyes, that is not the end of us. But how do you know that, Candace? I would love to hear you explain how you know that. And I mentioned this the other day on the live stream as well. I noticed that the books that she does her book reviews on, are really about secular humanism and psychology and conspiracies and, moon landing's fake and the earth is flat and all these kind of things like that. But I don't think she does any book reviews on, or book clubs or readings or discussions about her faith. Like, why are you not doing a book review on the case for Christ to help your audience understand where you come from and your starting point and that? Why are you not doing that? It just seems like such an odd thing to do. Such a weird take. Okay, let's go.
But if you truly believed that, you wouldn't sell your soul. People think that that's just like an expression. Oh, he sold his soul. No, you are literally selling your soul. Like when you tell lies and you go down a path of lying because you're so afraid of not having the security of a paycheck, or you're willing to do something terrible to maintain that job, or keeping your mouth shut to maintain that job. We're seeing it right now with the Charlie Kirk case, right? You're selling your soul. Like there's a life after this. They have made you pledge your allegiance to their dollar because they know life is going on. They know that. They want you to literally sell them your soul. That's my personal belief. It's why.
Based on what though? Like, where do you get that from? How would we be able to Look at that objectively. What information, what text would you give me to help me understand the same way that you feel and believe the same way as you, Candace? I want to be able to read it myself without you having to interpolate it for me. Where would I get that from? And why aren't you talking about that? Wouldn't that be more important than trying to uncover secret communist B colonies and MK Ultra and chasing numbers? Wouldn't that be more important than that? Because you just said there's more after this life. So why would we not be talking about that?
I am religious. It's why I speak about, my faith openly, because I just know if this is not it. And I just know these people are demons. Like, I don't know. They just look at the way they breathe. Like, you know what I mean?
The way you breathe makes you a demon. The way you breathe makes you a demon. Let me back that up because y'all might have thought I made that up. Y'all think I made that up. I know. The Candies, I see you in the front of the row of the church. I see you in the front row.
My faith openly, because I just know if this is not it. And I just know these people are demons. Like, I don't know. They just look at the way they breathe. Like, you know what I mean? Same thing. I look at Sam Altman. I'm like, look, I don't know. But I know that's not it's like a droid, obviously.
Her audience, somebody in the back is laughing. And I don't know if it's another patient in the asylum in Arkham or one of her producers. And they're just like, I can't believe you just said that. Listen to them laugh. Like, it doesn't make sense what she's saying.
Same thing. I look at Sam Altman. I'm like, look, I don't know. But I know that's not it's like a droid, obviously.
I have no idea. And if somebody could, please, I'm putting this ask out there. On Sunday, I have a guest coming on, and we're going to go over Candace's testimony. And I'm using that word very loosely. Her testimony of converting to Catholicism or becoming a Catholic. And we're going to go over it. It's very telling, extremely telling. But if you're a former Candy or maybe you're a current Candy, and you can show me a video of her giving a gospel message of what one must do to be saved, I'd love to see it. I would love to see it and give it a fair listen. I would love to. So if you find the video, you know where the video is. Here's Jason, dearwokec@gmail.com. Here's the video. Start at minute 5 and it goes all the way to minute 25. Whatever. Give me the timestamps. Tell me where it is. I'd love to hear it. Because at the current moment, I've never heard her explain how one goes about being saved. Ever. And I've listened to quite a bit. Y'all know I listen to a lot of it because I listen to it for y'all and take one for the team. So I really want y'all, if you could, if y'all run across it, help your boy out. I would love to hear. Okay, let me bring in the other one as well. Because, she did there were 2 clips on.
To just take a breather.
There were 2 clips on yesterday. Shout out to Nathan Livingstone over there on Twitter, has been giving her headaches. But let me pull this in and then we're going to get moving on. Let's go.
Just really needed to just take a breather and really process everything that happened with Charlie and what it kind of means in terms of where we are. And I think it is a circumstance where we just know. We just know that he was truly betrayed.
How do we know that? So she's already inserted into here, and I would love to get this full thing. I would love to get it. I don't know how much her book club is. I might be tempted to just do it, just to join, to get this type of information. But notice that she just said that, hey, I'm processing what happened to Charlie, blah, blah, blah. Ma'am, you have a whole husband and your own kids. You still talking about Charlie? I'm not saying that Charlie's not important. I'm not saying that you can't be there, but I question whether or not you and Charlie were really friends like you attest, because you do protest a little bit too much, ma'am. So I'm just saying, I don't hear other people arguing, beating their chest about how much Charlie was their friend, except you. So there's something about that. I'm just saying, but I digress. Let's go.
In one of the most egregious ways that I think I've ever seen. It has made me lose faith in politics. It has made me fully lose faith in Trump. And my heart aches for the fact that he gave so much of his life to Trump and to politics. And they just were like, nope, that is it.
So Charlie gave so much of his life to Trump and to politics. I think we all could say cap. We all can say that's cap. The lion's share of what Charlie was talking about was his faith. I would probably say faith and family and then politics. That might have been my, because I didn't watch everything Charlie did, but I think it's fair to say faith was definitely high up there. It definitely was in the number one spot quite often. So faith, family, politics would be my Charlie Kirk top three, if you will. How in the world do you not mention some of the most important aspects of Charlie's life, and you're his best friend, allegedly?
It serves us or it doesn't serve us, and we want to move on. And so here's a holiday. Bro, if they try to give me a holiday, what is with them giving people a holiday after they kill them? Why is that a thing? You know what I mean? They're like, oh, Martin Luther King, what about this holiday? What about this boulevard? Anyways, let me knock it off. Like, they're going to give Charlie Kirk a boulevard. They already did. They did in Israel. They gave him freaking boulevard. It's like, as soon as they give you a boulevard and a holiday, they definitely killed you.
So notice this is the brain dead part of what she said. So they gave Charlie Kirk the name of a square. They named a square Charlie Kirk Square in Israel. Who did that? The Israelis did that, right? But now she's going to say the feds killed him. So where's the boulevard supposed to be? Is it okay that it's in Israel? I don't understand. And also, you know who else has a boulevard named after them in Israel? Donald J. Trump. Ma'am, this doesn't make sense. She's just talking. She literally is just glitching out.
Okay, there's no question. They killed you. There's no way. That's like their signature thing. It's like that's what they do. It's the Fed signature. It's how they sign off after they murder you. They're like holiday and a boulevard. And it's never on a nice side of town either. Like Charlie Kirk Boulevard is not going to be a nice side of town.
Wow.
Anyways, I will be back on the 27th, you guys. Thank you guys for all the support throughout these couple of weeks, these last really kind of 6 weeks since Charlie died. And
what has been the support? What has been the support that she's referring to? What do you think the support? I know what I would say the support that she's referring to is, but what do you think the support is? And why is it that she loses faith in politics and loses faith in Trump, but she doesn't say that it brought her closer to her faith in Christ or faith in eternity and what Christ has done? Why is she not doing that? Never mind, Jason. We know why.
we will see you guys then.
Can't wait. Cannot wait, Candace. Cannot wait. All right. Thank you so much for these very kind supers. What in the world? Man, y'all are coming through. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Teresa J says with the $5 super, says, great channel. So glad I found you. I'm glad you found us. Welcome to the party. Oh, by the way, you actually asked, you said she was picking a fight with the Macrons, then Benjamin Netanyahu, and now Trump. Who else is she going to fight with? I think she's going to pick another fight with the Australian Prime Minister. I think that's who's going to be. All right. A so-called Christian that elevates the Muslim over the Protestant and quotes the Quran? Yes. Shout out to Gail Drake with a $10 super. You're 1,000% correct. I mean, I have no idea. At this stage of the game, I think we're playing intergalactic Calvin ball as it relates to Candace. I don't even know how this game is played anymore. I have no idea. Shout out to Eric. Thank you so much, brother, with the $5. Is TPUSA a Christian organization, or did it seem Christian because of Charlie's Christian leadership? Okay. TPUSA is a political organization that is run by Christians. That's what I understand it. I don't believe it started out emphatically as like a parachurch ministry or anything of that nature. It was a political organization that, because of Charlie's faith and the faith of those that are in the nucleus of the organization, how I understood it. Now, I could be wrong, so I'm definitely open to correction. That's why TPS. And now, when they wanted to get much more grounded in and help churches and such like that, that's where TPUSA or TP Faith or TPUSA Faith came from. That's where Rob McCoy was a part of, was helping pastors have these discussions, so on and so forth. So that's it. I hope I answered that correctly, and I'm sure anybody will correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you so much for the $5 super. MT came up in this building, and he said this, maybe Candace had Charlie unalived so she could do an investigative series and make enough money to cover the lawyer fees for the Macron case. Questions. You know what? That's probably not the craziest thing I've heard. You're just asking questions, right? I sense, we all know that. Hold on. You know what we got to say? Here we go.
I don't know, but I know. You know? I don't know, but I know.
And we can't disagree with that, because, I mean, you're just asking questions. Nothing's wrong with asking questions. Shout out to Amethyst Angel with the $2. She says, maybe her dumb bots have turned on her. I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen as many comments, and I will say that the comments have been fast and furious. You know, I like to try to, heart and like every comment, and I've kind of given up on that because the comments have been fast and furious, but I haven't seen a lot of her people in my comment section. Now, I could be wrong. Yeah, let me know. Shout out to Amethyst again. She's walking through a house of mirrors where all she sees are distorted reflections. Once she emerges, she won't know her true self when she sees her. I don't think she does. I don't think she will. And I agree with you 1,000%. Great comment. Thank you for the $5 super as well. Now, I think the only thing right to kind of cleanse our mental palate, if you will, I think it's only right. It's the only thing right to do is pull up some Ami Kozak and clean the palate. So I didn't realize he does a phenomenal. I'm sorry. He does a better Tucker Carlson than Tucker Carlson. Okay. I'm like, goodness gracious. I could watch him all the time. He's hilarious. So anyway, we are going to watch Tucker Carlson on Bibi Netanyahu.
I mean, I do think Bibi Netanyahu is.
Can y'all drop me a green hearts in the chat when you can hear? Let's go.
Actually, probably one of the most, actually evil people that we've ever known about. I mean, he's demonic, really demonic, just plain pure evil. You're evil. He's trying to. I think Bibi's a demon. I think he might have been the demon that molested me. Really? I remember it. I remember it really well, actually. I remember what happened. You know the story. I was molested by a demon. I think the demon might have been Bibi Netanyahu who was doing that. I really do believe that. I really do.
What makes you think that?
I woke up smelling like hummus, and I could hear while it was going on. I could hear, "Hello, how are you doing? This is really nice, Tucker. I'm holding you. You are so tender and wonderful. Keep laughing." And I remember I was laughing and I was crying at the same time. I was. It was very traumatic, really traumatic. It was, and I really do think it might have been Bibi Netanyahu who was the demon that molested me, which made me certainly have questions about Israel, questions about Israel's leadership.
Wait, so what are your current thoughts about Bibi?
Bibi, I think, is a great leader, and he's a beautiful person, right? I have no ill will towards him, at all.
Hello.
He's back.
Come here.
I mean, I do think Bibi Netanyahu is evil.
Wait, what did you say here? Hold on. I just saw something. Dude needs costumes of his person. He's doing his thing. You know what? I agree with you. But he does such a good job. You can just listen to him, and he's crushing it. So let's give him a little bit of room here.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here.
Sorry.
I want to just start by just sharing some beautiful memories that we all had.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, please.
Sorry. I'm sorry. So sorry.
Just to reflect on the life and the legacy and the beautiful memories that we all share. Sir,
It's true.
please.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, where was I? I think we take this moment to celebrate. As we mourn and grieve, we celebrate. Sir, I'm sorry, you have to leave. Can someone...
Why?
Can someone get him out of here, please?
I don't think I did anything.
No, you have to leave.
Why would I have to do that?
Well, because you're kind of distracting from the moment.
I don't see how.
No, well, you're making this about you. And also what you're doing, this is all anyone's going to be talking about. And it's not the point of being here, okay?
I'm sorry. I mean, I agree with that. I really do.
Okay.
I really do. So, I'm sorry. I just...
Okay. I'm sorry, everybody.
I totally agree. It's true.
Wow.
I need a
Thank you
don't
all for
tase me,
coming.
bro. That's what I needed. I need a don't tase me, bro. Right then would have been fantastic. That's ridiculous. Okay, there was a question real quick, and let me, because some people, we got some new people here. We got some new J-Wit Pod Squad family members, and somebody may or may not know Okay, we're gonna do story time with Whitaker as our last palette cleanse, right? What does the green heart symbolize? All right, so first of all, we're just using a heart because there's everybody can see and quickly grab a heart. But the color of this podcast is green, okay? And some of you may or may not know how green became the color of the podcast. So guess what? I'm gonna give you the deep theological, all that kind of stuff about how it became green. So a friend of mine is a graphic designer. He designed the Dear Woke Christian label that you all know from before, right? And he sent it to me. He sent me 7 different colors. There was purple, orange, yellow, blue, white, and of course, green. There's another color too. He sent them to me in a PDF file, and they look really cool. I was like, wow, these are great. All that kind of stuff like that. And somebody was going to do the logo and put it on, the various websites for me. And it said, send me a color, send me your logo. And I looked at it, I'm like, I don't know which one I want to pick. I just grabbed green, and that's how we got here. I know. You all thought it was something really deep, something profound, but it's really not that deep. It's really not. It was really I just grabbed the green one because I could have grabbed the purple one. In retrospect, I probably would have grabbed the purple one. But then the green just started to happen. So like my God is a Designer hat, the first one I bought has the green bill on it. And that was like a big deal because they don't make that hat very often. So that was like a big deal. And then all that. So I know you really thought it was something really deep and profound, but it's really not. It was just the luck of the draw. I just grabbed the green one on the PDF and sent it to the guy, and that's how we got here. But I do want to tell you something else. I want to, real quick, before we go to the next clip. Earlier today, I told y'all that I was going to start a nasty work wall. Okay, so I got my little sticky notes up here for my for the nasty work wall, and it says here, nasty work. Blaming Erica Kirk for Charlie Kirk. That's some nasty work right there. So I actually do have my little sticky notes up here. It'll probably get a little bit more. It needs to get ironed out a little bit because the sticky notes, they do not want to stick. But I had to tape them up there. But anyway, that's where we are. So I know y'all are like, man, come on, Jason. I need some more deep, serious reasons. But that's it. His laugh is ridiculously annoying. His laugh is ridiculous. I have to admit that. Okay, so let's get moving. So earlier, somebody also recommended to me, again, shout out to whoever recommended it, the Christian Cold Case channel was on What Do You Meme? And you know What Do You Meme? We love What Do You Meme over here at the channel. John does a great job. And he spoke with Cold Case Christianity. I'm sorry, is the name of it. Cold Case Christianity. And spoke to him about the Charlie Kirk case. And I'm sure it's pretty similar to what we talked about when he was on Frank Turek, but I just thought it would be great because I know John is an excellent interviewer. So if you don't mind, we're going to bring in What Do You Meme? And we're going to have a good time talking about it. So thank you so much for tapping in. Welcome to everybody who's just jumped in. Let's go. Green hearts in the chat when you can hear. You can do purple hearts if you want to, but green, I like green.
Right now, everyone's asking the same question. Was there more to the Charlie Kirk shooting than what's being told? Millions have watched influencers claim a conspiracy is unfolding right in front of us. But what if we looked at all of this the way a homicide detective would? Well, my friend Detective J. Warner Wallace spent decades solving murder cases and even used the same methods to test the Gospels, leading him to convert to Christianity. So in this conversation, I asked them, how do detectives separate what's possible from what's true? What about the inconsistencies in the Charlie Kirk case and more? Because when everything feels rigged, even lies start to sound logical. Me and you both have a background in dealing with atheist objections and even atheist conspiracy. So there's a popular atheist conspiracy, of course, which we know is like Jesus mysticism. But basically the theory there is that Jesus never existed. So why did you not embrace that belief, given the fact that you've investigated these gospel stories?
Well, and I think, okay, so here's a couple of things. Number one, you're right. I was the atheist who held these positions that I needed to investigate, right? Because I was like, this can't be true. And let's just do a little thought experiment first. Remember, everything I do is cumulative based on indirect evidence. There's two forms of evidence: direct evidence, indirect evidence. Direct evidence is eyewitness accounts, so we can test these as eyewitness accounts. But often I have to build a case without any eyewitnesses without any living eyewitnesses anyway. Well, that's kind of what we're doing here, and they're cumulative, death by 1,000 paper cuts. So when I'm making a case for did Jesus really live, I'm building it with lots of different lanes of evidence. But let's just put it this way as a thought experiment. Take the most robust manuscript evidence critic, a Bart Ehrman. And by the way, Bart, though, thinks that Jesus lived, so he doesn't deny the life of Jesus. But just take a skeptical view, and imagine that the Gospels contained no miracle accounts, no virgin birth, no miracles, no healings, no walking on water, no feeding 5,000, no resurrection, no ascension into heaven. Just a wise Jewish rabbi in the first century who taught some stuff and then died a natural death. There wouldn't be one skeptic on planet Earth who would deny that Jesus actually lived. Based on the robust manuscript evidence, he's the best attested ancient in the history of ancients. No one's been written about more and had more impact than Jesus of Nazareth. I talk about this in a book called Person of Interest. But you add one miracle to those documents, and suddenly no one believes any of them, which tells you that the skepticism is not grounded in the lack of manuscript evidence or the lack of historical veracity. It's grounded in a presuppositional bias against anything miraculous.
No, that's really good, because you kind of hit on, we all have a natural tendency to have some sort of bias when we're going into looking at any situation. So what I've kind of see is with a lot of conspiracies, a lot of times people will start with an assumption of what's going on before they even look at the evidence, right? And even more, when I think about like debating with atheists and stuff in the past, they would invent theories a lot of the times based off of their skepticism or based off of their suspicion. They would argue from a lack of evidence, in other words, arguing from things that we don't know rather than things that we do know. So for example, they'll say like, well, the way to explain the resurrection is that maybe Jesus had a twin brother who died on the cross rather than him, or something like that, right? Now, so with all that in mind, how does that kind of play out either in atheism or when you're doing homicide cases?
Okay, so let me just go a couple. I often think that once you understand basic, general, broad principles that are related to how you investigate cases and how you assemble a case in front of a jury, it does help us to think clearly about other things. Okay, so let me just say this. Every case you work has unanswered questions. We tell jurors all the time, we're going to tell you everything you need to know, but not everything that could be known, because knucklehead here has not confessed to this. So there's a bunch of things I don't understand. He hasn't told me why he did this or how he did that or where this blood smear, what I don't know. I'm making assumptions, but I can't answer those questions for you. Are you the kind of juror who needs to know, have every single potential question answered before you can render a verdict? Yeah, I think I am that. I think this is a homicide case. I think I need to have then you're dismissed. You'll be excused, because I can't put a juror. I have never had a case where I could answer every possible question. It just isn't possible. It's not reason. By the way, that standard would be what's called beyond a possible doubt. Every question answered. Okay, that's not the standard. The standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a lower standard. You know what's in that gap? All of your unanswered questions. You operate every day with unanswered questions, but you have enough evidence to determine that it's reasonable to move forward, even though if you dwell on what's possible, you will stay in the house. You won't go anywhere. So our standard of reasonable doubt is reasonable for everything we do in life, including these kinds of decisions. It's also reasonable for trials that involve life and death. It's not standard beyond a possible doubt. Now, here's what I see happening. You're absolutely right. It's in the unanswered questions that people will insert a theory, because every case has unanswered questions. So therefore, for every case, whether...
Okay, I'm going to stop right there, because at the current moment, I feel like Candace is inserting unanswered questions or whatever that and theories in before the questions are even able to be asked. Now, there are some things, again, I think there's some problems with some of the stories that we've been told. And there is a developing story. But during the case, we're going to hear everything that the state is putting out. And from there, those gaps and those holes, then that's where theories come in. But the current moment, she's putting in theories and there hasn't even been a case presented. We don't even know how they're going to present this information. They might not talk about this. This might not be important. They might have information we have not even seen or heard of yet. So I feel like that's where Candace is really inserting a lot of weirdness and kind of creating this idea, like he said before, beyond a possible doubt. Like, no, that's not it. It's reasonable. All right, shout out for sure.
It's a case for God, a case for Christianity, or a case for the murder of so-and-so. Even the huge cases we see in culture today that are all kinds of these conspiracy theories are appearing, it's because every case has those kinds of gaps. And I just had to get comfortable as an investigator, and I got comfortable really fast because I've got cases that are cold cases. I worked fresh homicides for about 5 years, and then I started working cold cases, and I finished my career working cold cases. Well, so I loved working cold cases, but every one of them has huge unanswered questions. We get in front of a jury, we still win these trials, even when I solve it, there's still huge unanswered questions. So here's what I've learned: is I say, look, I'm going to give you all the evidence right to this guy. It's going to point right to him. It's not going to point a foot to the left or a foot to the right. It's going to point right to him. But there's going to be a gap at the end of my evidence trail because every case has a gap at the end of the evidence trail. Those are where all your unanswered questions lie. I'm going to ask you at the end of that evidence trail to step across the gap and render a verdict. Same thing here. Everything points to the reliability of the scriptures and the existence of Jesus being exactly who the scriptures say he was. Do you have unanswered questions? Yes. Like every case, at the end of that evidence trail, doesn't point a foot to the left of Jesus or a foot to the right of Jesus. Just step across the end of the trail and render a verdict. That's a forensic faith. It's a faith that you can actually, when you're done, explain to others.
It's probably worth noting even at this point where, in my mind, there's a distinction between what you can prove, evidence, and then what actually happened, right? So it's like, I guess what me and you are not claiming is that all conspiracies are false, right? We're just saying, what are you justified in embracing due to the evidence, and because that's basically how you guys are going to run too. Because I'm sure there's probably cases where you know the guy, but you can't convict them because of some sort of hiccup with the evidence or not having enough evidence to go forward.
Right. No, that's, and let me tell you, that's the kind of case I love to work. I've worked whodunits, and those are great. Those are fun to work, and you finally discover who it is. Here's what I think everyone's grasping at. I don't go true or false. I call it this way. There are successful and unsuccessful. There's the categories. So are there some successful conspiracies? Yes. But there's a bunch that are not. And what's the difference? So, for example, if you think you know of a successful conspiracy, it wasn't successful by definition. Successful conspiracies are the ones people get away with. Instead, we see a lot of broken ones that aren't successful. You're not describing a successful conspiracy. And part of and this is a great thing about conspiracies, time is the enemy of conspiracy theories. It is the enemy because time is what typically gives it away. At some point, someone's going to want to take advantage of what they know about the conspiracy to leverage it for something. And the longer the time you have, the harder it is to keep the conspiracy in place. If you're suggesting there's been this, I always say there's 5 things in a successful conspiracy. Number 1.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna interject because I want to give him time to say. I wonder if that's why our favorite conspiratist keeps augmenting and changing and evolving her conspiracy because time is running out and nothing new is coming from the beehive, or nothing new is coming from the underground Ninja Turtles. The whole Egyptian plane thing was a farce. So I wonder if that's why it just keeps changing. Now they did it. The infamous they have entered the group chat. And I'm wondering if that might be why she keeps doing that. And she keeps augmenting it. And again, if we did a timeline, we probably would see 5 or 6 different theories out there that make no sense, that completely dead end. And why? Because she was trying to insert something to keep the narrative going, rather than saying that what we saw and what they have is more likely the person that they're going to convict. But let me just keep it going. Okay.
At some point, someone's going to want to take advantage of what they know about the conspiracy to leverage it for something. And the longer the time you have, the harder it is to keep the conspiracy in place. If you're suggesting there's been this, I always say there's 5 things in a successful conspiracy. Number 1, the smallest number of co-conspirators. Number 2, the shortest amount of time to hold it. Number 3, excellent communication between co-conspirators. Number 4, if you've got a strong family relationship or strong relationships, that helps you be successful. Number 5, 0 pressure. But if you're telling me that a bunch of people, 50, 100, 500, 600, like the case for the resurrection, 500, Paul said, were available, saw Jesus on the same day, rose from the grave. 120 are in the upper room. Are they part of the 500? I don't know. But there's a lot of people who have to maintain this for 60 years until every last one is dead, under immense pressure in which they're being tortured, separated by lots of miles and no way to communicate. Okay. Is that a possible? Yes. By the way, if you ask me, is it possible that Christianity is a conspiracy? I'm always going to say yes, because that's not my standard. It's not reasonable. That's the standard. And that's why anything is possible. It's possible we're not even talking to each other right now. You just got a really sophisticated AI avatar, and I'm just buying it, right? I mean, it's possible. The question is, what's reasonable? So I always tell people, do you think this is a conspiracy? Is it possible? Of course it's possible. I said, not reasonable.
And yeah, one thing for me, like the way I tend to think about things is I think about things in terms of probability. So it's like you don't need to have certainty to know something, right? It's like, but you just think about it in terms of probability. So it's like, what is the probability based off of all of our background information and all of the evidence that we have that this thing happened or is going to happen? But with that, let's turn a little bit over to how people turn speculation into evidence for conspiracy, even if they don't have a theory. So maybe we can think about it this way: is when we think about like the scientific method or historical method or one of those things, we have hypotheses and then we have evidence. And the way I define evidence, you can disagree if you want, but the way I think about evidence, at least, is anything that's going to raise or lower the probability of your hypothesis being true or false, right? And so when I think about it in that way, then I think if something does not lower or heighten the probability of my theory, what I think happened, then it's not evidence. So a lot of times when people are using speculation, at least as it appears to me, is that speculation is not evidence. It's just speculation. You're saying things look weird. And I'm assuming that in homicide cases, things often look weird. Is that right?
Yep, there are.
Like
I'm gonna
inconsistencies and stuff.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Let me just, first of all, before we begin this, I think I wrote them down here. Because there's the California jury instructions. Here they are. So here's the California jury instructions related to this term speculation. It is, you do not allow jurors to speculate. And we instruct them on, there's like maybe, just Google your jury instructions in your state. There'll be a PDF file online, download it and search for the word speculate. And you're going to find that there's a ton of instruction for jurors about the danger of speculating. So, for example, I just pulled one. There's a ton of these in our state of California. Base your decision only on the evidence you have heard in court and on the instructions, this is the judge instructing the jury, on the instructions that I have given you. Do not speculate or consider anything other than the evidence and my instructions. In other words, we would always create like a visual slide for this part of the instruction for the jury. So we typically would do this at closing, right? So we're getting ready to close and we have a whole segment which is all of the jury instructions. We want to remind the jury not to do these things. So we have a picture of the jury and someone has got a word bubble. What if? Okay, there's no what ifs.
What if?
If there's not evidence to base this on, you can't speculate a theory that's in the gap of the evidence. We do not allow if there's not positive, affirmative evidence for something, you can't talk about it because it's just pure speculation. And here's the problem. You know that every case, like I suggested, is going to have unanswered questions. So let's say, imagine you've got a puzzle, okay, and there's a 100-piece puzzle. And so now there's like 3 empty pieces. Well, all of the sophisticated conspiracy theories, you'll say, let's just take, we've got a ton of conspiracy theories that are in circulation right now as you and I talk. And they're always going to focus on the missing 3 puzzle pieces.
Correct.
Which is exactly what this jury instruction is telling jurors not to do. You can build any inference from the other 97 pieces, but you cannot focus on the missing 3 and say, I wonder if, isn't it possible that, take that stuff out of your vocabulary. Because that you cannot focus on the missing 3 pieces, but if you're online and you're an influencer and you're trying to, posit a conspiracy theory that's going to draw thousands of clicks, you're either going to have to do one of 2 things. Argue that the evidence that's been presented so far is untrue.
Uh-oh.
Can't trust it. Right? Or you're going to work in the missing 3 pieces. We haven't seen anything over here. This is why. So For example, I was talking to Frank Turk about this with the Charlie Kirk case, and so what you typically do, and this is let's just say what happens here. What happens is, you as an investigator, I don't want the public to know anything about my case, anything. If I've started collecting evidence, and I've got 10 pieces now, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know who the guy is yet, but I do have 10 good pieces of evidence, and I'm now stuck. I'm reaching a point where I need some help. Like maybe I have a video. And I'd like to know who this guy is. Probably somebody knows. Let's take that one of the 10 pieces I've collected so far. That's one piece of evidence. Let's put that online. Let's go to the public with that one piece. And sure enough, you go to the public with that one piece and he gets identified. Great. That video did turn the tables, right? Because his dad saw the video. Okay, so this is what's very helpful. Now, I've also got another 9 set of pieces of evidence so far. Now, I have not told the public about those. There's no need to. That one piece did its job. I've now got the suspect identified. Now I'm still working hard. I've got another 400 pieces of evidence I've collected. How much of that have I told the public about? Zero. Why would I tell the public about any of that? How does that possibly help me? Here's what I'm aiming at now. Once I got the guy identified and he's in custody, I've caught him, I have one more event in this case, the trial. That's it.
Trial.
The investigation's over. The arrest is over. I'm down to prosecution now. I'm not saying anything about the other 400 pieces until after. You'll hear about it if you want to televise the prosecution, the trial. But otherwise, I'm not going to say anything about those pieces. Now, what I've created in the public's eye is a bunch of unanswered questions. Where's the autopsy report? Oh, they're not releasing the autopsy report. That seems a bit No, that's not unusual. That's every case I've ever worked. You know, if I didn't need to have a video out there to identify my suspect, I'm not telling anything to anybody until we go to trial. Sometimes that trial, by the way, is 4 years downstream from the arrest. I've had a couple of those.
Well, now, just to clarify on the autopsy thing, isn't it true, though, that whenever people are murdered or killed under suspicious circumstances, then they do release the autopsy report to the public? Or is that not accurate?
No, not on a criminal trial like this. They have no obligation to release this. Now, it'll become a part of the public domain once the trial is done, because it'll be submitted into an active court case as a piece of evidence. They'll submit the report. They'll have a testimony of the coroner, for example. So all of that's going to come in eventually, but not now. Does not need to be done now. As a matter of fact, I don't want any of that out. And here's why.
Okay, but before we answer that, I think it's worth noting how foreign disinformation campaigns have exploited Charlie Kirk's assassination, and most of us didn't even know. If you pull this up on Ground News, you can see that China, Russia, Iran, and others have fake social media accounts, bots, and conspiracies to portray the U.S. as dangerous. But how the different American sources have covered this story couldn't be more telling. When it comes to the 227 sources that's covered this topic, you can quickly see that the left emphasizes how Russia strengthened online conspiracy theories about how America is descending into civil war, while the right has emphasized that 24% of Americans mistakenly believed that Charlie Kirk's assassin was a Republican. And reasons like this are why I'm happy to have Ground News sponsoring this part of the video. Ground News gathers articles from over 50,000 sources and shows you how they're being covered across the political spectrum, allowing you to see the full picture. So if the left-leaning outlets are right and we're headed for civil war, well, the reason why tools like Ground News are so important is because, as a Duke University study on polarization found, when people are exposed to the kind of blind spots that Ground News highlights, it actually moderated their views and reduced polarization. So, if you want to try it out, go ahead and go to groundnews.com/whatdoyoumeme, or you can scan the QR code on the screen and you'll get 40% off of unlimited access with the Vantage plan, which is the same plan that I use every day. All right, now back to the interview.
Here's why. We're not done here. And I don't want any 12th hour witness pulled in from the defense team who's very clever, who has got some contrary story. I want to know, if I'm interviewing anyone from now until the trial date, that whatever information they're giving to me, they are not repeating from something stupid I shouldn't have said. I want to make sure that if they tell me anything, it's going to be because they had inside information that was not known to the public. Now this confirms them. This makes them legitimate. But if I have leaked out information, now here's what I'm seeing. I'm an old school guy, right, who did most of my work before there was this robust kind of need to get every detail out there in the public square. And we were really good about just not answering questions. For example, our our officer who was in charge of public relations would protect us as investigators. I would never, as the lead investigator, even on a case that ends up on Dateline. We had a 2-hour case on Dateline. Hey, protect me. Just tell them we're not talking to anybody. But they're not going to talk to me. There's nothing good that comes out of my releasing more information before we go to trial. Nothing good ever happens there. So they released enough information to get him identified, then zip, we're done. We're not going to say anything else. Now, here's the problem. All good conspiracy theories that are fun, but not true, not successful, not actually what happened, are built around the unanswered questions. And we have now created hundreds of unanswered questions because we're not going to talk about that until we go to trial. So we just patiently endure every silly. Now, here's what I saw happening. Kash Patel, he posted that he is going to be looking at these other theories, this theory of a second shooter or a different angle on the shot. Okay, don't misunderstand what's happening there. That's not Kash Patel saying, yeah, we think too there might be a second shooter. No. It's a polite way of saying, yeah, we've heard your stupid stuff, and we're going to knock that down before we get to trial too. So just chill out, okay? Yeah, this is all insane, but we're going to go ahead and knock it down for you evidentially. So by the time we get to trial, but by the way, we're not going to talk about it until we get to trial. But just so you know, yeah, you're all banging the drum. I want a second shooter possibility. I want that. Okay, we'll look at all that stuff for you. No problem. We're not going to tell you what we find though until we get to trial.
But will you be looking at the underground communist bees? That's what I need to know. And then also, like, what is communist underground bee hive honey like? Like, what is it like? Does it taste like rum or vodka or something? Like, what's going on with that? And do they work with Ninja Turtles? Do they work? These are things I need to know. So I don't know if Kash can get on that, but I need Kash Patel to give me that information. I'm serious, man. I like this guy a lot. I do like him a lot. And shout out to John from What Do You Mean? Because he's asking some excellent questions. This is great. This is not just a rehash of the Turek interview. This is definitely a different interview and sort of the same, but very different. Let's go.
But we just want to make sure at the end, our case is strong. We've not just looked at this guy. We looked at every possible, even the crazy conspiracy theories you guys are taking on. And do you realize, of course, that it's really YouTube that's changed it all, right? Here we are on YouTube. Yeah. If there was no platform like this that people could make how would you, if you're a private citizen, and some of these are really little more than private citizens, I've got huge influence on YouTube. How would you have done this 25 years ago? Yeah. How would you have even posted your conspiracy theory in a way that anyone else would even hear it? There was no X and there was no place to post these things. Right? So these kinds of theories, now we're going to have probably more theories than ever before in the history of humans on any case that doesn't go to trial quickly, especially the more nationally known it is. So this doesn't surprise me at all. Now, let me just say one more thing about what I see happening. And so here's where the conspiracies come from: the missing 3 puzzle pieces. Because that's the only place you can build them, right? You got to build them. Or they'll say, you start hearing things like this. And so we'll say, well, look, you realize that the second shooter theories, all of these second shooter theories from a different angle, where people are saying the entry point into the victim, into Charlie, was different than the one that is being claimed. Okay, that's going to be settled by the autopsy, number one. But we're not telling you what the autopsy says right now because you don't need to know. No one needs to know. That's information we might need to leverage down the road if somebody pops up as a witness, somebody pops up as a co-conspirator, someone pops up as he's crazy and he wants to claim some inside knowledge that he did it. We already have one of those in this case. Okay, so we're going to be able to knock all that stuff down because we have the evidence of the autopsy report. Okay. The other thing you'll see, they'll say, oh, yeah, but autopsy reports are changed all the time. So that's what I'm telling you. They're either going to have to say you can't trust the 97 pieces of the puzzle.
Which is crazy.
Or the real answer's in the missing 3 pieces. And every puzzle has a missing 3 pieces. So here's the other thing I'm seeing here with this one, for example. I see people do this all the time. They'll look at every other coincidence and say, that's not a coincidence. That's something intentional. Oh, there's a flight record of a plane from Egypt that happens to be, okay. Is it correlated or causal or just a coincidence? Those are your 3 C's, right? But you see this, for example, in all of the close intensive study of videotape. So you'll see that the shot is fired And there happens to be a guy who scratches his face. We've played this video back and forth 1,000 times. There's a guy who's touching his elbow. There's a guy, if Frank Turek is accused, he's raising his phone because he's videotaping this for his family. Okay, seriously? So yeah, it's really easy to play that game. Every single coincidence you're going to claim is correlated. And what evidence do you have of any of this? By the way, all of this will be resolved by the autopsy, which will demonstrate not only if the bullet's still in him, we're going to find the round. We're going to have both metallurgy and ballistics to compare it to the rifle. We're going to know exactly where it entered, what happened to the round once it went in the body. I was talking about this with Frank. And sadly, what happens here is that at every autopsy, we take the body. First thing we do is take the clothes off the body. And then we hose it down. We wash it down. There's not a pumping heart anymore. So we're just going to get all the blood off the body. Then we put it through an x-ray because we're trying to find the round. In other shootings I've been involved in, sometimes a round will go in, it hits something, it moves, comes out the back, you're going, wow, how's that even happen? Or it stays in there, or it fragments. The coroner is going to take out every single fragment and give it to me, and I'm going to put it in an evidence bag and take it back to the department. I'm there at the autopsy. The investigator will be there at the autopsy to collect anything. That round has already been collected. And so that stuff's going to be collected, and then you'd use the autopsy to locate the round. Sometimes the round's obvious, it's easy to locate, but if it fragments, you want every piece, and the autopsy will show you where every piece of the round is. And then this autopsy is about digging those pieces out. So the point is, this is what we're going to do. All of this is going to settle every single question. In the meantime, though, we're going to have to endure, dozens of videos using conspiracy theories that involve the coincidences instead of the correlations and the causes, and are working in the missing 3 puzzle pieces. So you're going to have to endure that because it's just the nature of the beast.
And now I do have a question for you, because on the surface, from what I've heard, this does sound strange, but I'm not sure about it. So I'd just like to get your insights. Of course, you probably don't have the details, but Joe Rogan was talking about how if someone was shot with a 30-06, then basically their head would just blow off like hitting a cantaloupe or something. So is it possible then for a fragment of the bullet or whatnot that hit Charlie, is that normal coming from that type of rifle? Or how does this look from just a homicide perspective? How would a homicide investigator think about this?
Yeah, so it doesn't worry me too much because there's so many variables here. And that's why in the end, we have some remaining bullets that were not fired. So we don't know here's what determines the impact that a bullet will have on a victim. Number one, what's the bullet? What is it? For any particular, even like for a pistol, there are a number of different kinds of rounds I can fire. And some will have different penetrating ability than others. So I'd have to know something I don't know right now, which is precisely what kind of bullet. What's also going to affect it is the distance, because it's going to lose speed, right? The age of the round. Is the round a brand new round that was purchased, or has it been sitting around for, what's the condition of the rounds? Some rounds are aging out. We don't keep, I'm not going to have a round in my service gun forever. I'm going to change them out. Every time I go to the range to shoot, my range master replaces the ammunition. We want fresh ammunition so the distance and the kind of round it is and the age of the round, and then what is it hitting when it finally gets there? And I've seen so many weird things in autopsies because I'm there from the very beginning. So I'm waiting for the x-ray. The x-ray comes back. I'm like, wow, and you study like what certain rounds will do. And you think, well, yeah, it's just going to go right through. It's going to blow a big hole out of your back like in some movies. Not necessarily. It depends on what it hits and then where it's going to change direction once it's in the body. It's bizarre what bullets will do. Now, this was a long distance shot. I think what I'm reading so far, it seems like the bullet must have still been, I think, an early statement, which I would never have said, by the way. I would make you guess on what I have and don't have. But I do think an early statement that was made was something about they found it still, and I think we have some early pictures from the backside of his neck that in real time. So I don't know if it was a through and through round or if it was still in his body, but I do believe they've recovered the bullet. So, but again, I'm speculating, which we shouldn't do. We just don't know. We don't know until we see what the autopsy says. But I just know that this idea that this kind of round will blow your head off. Well, how far away are you when you're shooting it? What all the rounds you could shoot through that rifle? Which round is it? What's the age of that round? Okay, what did it hit? You know, I kind of watched that too. I always kind of wondered: did it hit his spinal column? Did it hit his brainstem? Did it just go? Did it hit nothing but the fleshy part of your neck? I mean, I just don't know. And again, I just to speculate about what might be but I'll tell you this: given all of those variables, anything could have happened with that round. Yeah. I would never say, "Oh, that should always have done this," or "that should never have done that." Always and never should not be in your vocabulary when you're working these kinds of cases. Let's just see what happened. You know, now I have seen situations where people try to shoot the same kind of round from a distance to kind of measure the impact, you know, and who knows, that might end up being part of the trial, but I don't know if we're going to need that. But there's still ways to test this out going forward, and we'll see what they do.
Yo, I want to
now another.
Hold on real quick. I just want to say, I think it's refreshing because this is a man who has seen hundreds, if not thousands, of cold cases. I don't want to leave John looking like that. Seen hundreds of thousands of cold cases from, I'm sure, shots to strangulations to fill in the blank. And he is okay. This is an expert. This is a trained expert. And he is okay with not knowing all of those things. And the idea that bullets do a lot of weird stuff. For him to say that, that's kind of refreshing because, you know, people are treating it like, no, it's always going to be 1 + 1 = 2. Well, when you're using a bullet, and all the different variables, it might not equal 2. 1 + 1 might equal rutabaga. It could be something totally different. So I just think that's refreshing to hear him say that and such of that nature. Because, I mean, I think the pressure, if you will, from the missing 3 pieces, I love that he said that, the missing 3 pieces in light of the whole 97, sometimes those missing 3 pieces is giving people anxiety. And look, I like a good puzzle too. And I don't want to have 3 missing pieces. So I can understand like wanting to be complete, wanting to have everything done. But in this situation, you're not going to have all the pieces. You're not going to know everything. There's still going to be some gap. I think he called it the evidence gap. And I think that's cool to be able to say, you know what, I'm fine with that. And he's fine with that. So I think we should be fine with that and be okay. Like, you know what? There's going to be some evidence. There's going to be some things that we don't understand. Maybe some of those questions that people are in the chats and on Discord and on X ranting about, maybe those will get answered during the trial. Maybe some of those weird things that, well, what about this? Maybe those will get answered during the trial. Maybe they won't. Maybe that's one of the 3 missing pieces and they won't talk about that. Or maybe it's one of those things that Kash Patel is like, look, all right, we're going to be talking about the Egyptian plane. All right. Here we go. We're going to go find out about the communist beehives. All right. Anybody know where Michelangelo is? We're going to the Ninja Turtles. Maybe that was part of that. So I'm cool with the way this is going. You know, I'm better now. I think I will. Like, you know, I'm perfectly fine with it. But before we go too far, I want to say I'm perfectly fine with Amethyst Angel and a $2 super. She says this: I'm YSL triggered now. That's how I found you. Shout out. Shout out. And yeah, I remember when we met, and yeah, YSL was a trial that, man, there was a lot of problems with that trial. There was a lot of problems with that trial. And I think it wasn't just 3 missing pieces because it wasn't a well-formulated trial. I would love to hear this guy talk about the YSL trial because he seems like he knows what he's talking about. Let's keep going. Also, the former atheist, now Christian, Lee Strobel, and the author of The Case for Christ. Absolutely. I have the book right here. And I was talking about doing a book discussion, why Candace doesn't do book discussions on those kind of books. I talked about that yesterday. Shout out. All right, let's get John back up in here. So he's got a lot to say.
Question is, how much are they paying you? Because $7,000, that's what they always
Oh,
say.
the $7,000.
Whenever you mention anything of these things, they say, how much are they paying
paying
you? And
me?
they're referring
Oh,
to
yeah.
Israel. Yeah, that's what they always say.
Okay, so let me just tell you, I think you know me, John. So here's my whole
Yeah.
situation, right? I live on a pension. And I always tell people that if you can be financially independent, you don't need to ask for money for really anything. And so I live on a pension, and here's what financial independence is. It's not the ability to buy anything. It's the ability to buy anything you want. and I don't want anything. So I became financially independent pretty quick. And so I live on my pension. And I didn't start writing books or talking about anything Jesus until after I had secured a pension. Why? Because I wanted to take the money out of it. So when I first joined Stand to Reason, I told Greg Kokel at Stand to Reason, I will join you. I was there for about 1.5 years. I said, but I'm not taking a salary. He said, well, you need to. I said, no, Greg, I can't write a letter to donors to say that without your help, I couldn't do this, because the truth of it is I don't need anyone's help. I don't have a financial need. So I worked there for 18 months as a volunteer. And what do I charge now? I'll tell you what I charge when I go places to speak. I charge what I think one day with my wife is worth. So I'm going to have to leave my wife for a day to come. And as we get older, that stuff has value. So you know what I'm basically saying now? I'm just not coming. Sorry. I do less and less travel because I feel like, hey, I'm in a season where I've got grandchildren. Like, this has to change. Now, you and I started recording this tonight because my grandkids were here until half an hour before we started recording. Like, life is different in this season. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about cold case investigate. I'm happy to talk about investigations, but I think you know me well enough to know that money was never part of the metric.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, I feel like, hey, if you believe this is true, that you want to write, and so, you know, if you talk to my publishers, they'll tell you I'm somebody, I don't really even want going forward any advances. I feel like this, you know, also, to be honest, I'm in California. I mean, how much can you make before they're going to tax it all away anyway? So, so I feel like, hey, we're doing okay.
Shout out to
you don't buy anything new. I've been driving Hyundais my entire life. I'm happy to drive a Hyundai.
See, and the thing about that, though, is I know you, right? And both of us, we know Frank well, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing about conspiracies a lot of the time is they're assuming the motives of people that they don't know. Like, even in my videos, like anybody that's been watching me, I am very, very, if not hardly ever, speculate on somebody's motive. You know, it's like, here's what they did, but I can't tell their motives because only God knows their true motives in their heart, right? And so that's where I think conspiracies can be dangerous, because we know that Frank would never set up Charlie, obviously, because we know his character.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of these conspiracies are like, well, Charlie's close people, they might be in on it. You know, these people knew him, they might be in on it. And I was like, you don't know those people to be able to make that assessment. So again, it's arguing from what you don't know,
no doubt,
instead of arguing what you know.
Well, think about this for a second. This is somebody who, when you're involved right now in anything, in public ministry or public politics, whatever it may be, it's so divisive that you're going to develop a number of enemies on both sides of this spectrum. It's just the nature of it. You're going to develop enemies on both sides. So you could go back and say, well, I could see a potential for this guy to kill him, that group to kill him, this group to want him dead, that group to want him dead. So you can speculate about all of those things. You know, here's what I would say. When you work investigations, I used to always talk about law enforcement. It's been said this way, that law enforcement, police work is, hours and hours of boredom, driving around, punctuated by moments of sheer terror. Okay, which is true. That's what the job is. I think investigations is even less. I think it's like just boring. I mean, the day you're going to arrest the guy, that's exciting, right? But usually you're going to knock on his door, dude. Sorry, we're taking you to jail for something you did 35 years ago, or we're going to wait till he walks out to his car. It's not that exciting, but you end up getting the excitement of knowing you solved the case. You finally brought someone to justice. That's fun. I think it's actually the relief for me happens at the conviction. So it's so boring, right? And I've discovered that most of the time, the answer is really simple. It's somebody driven by sex, money, or power. So it doesn't surprise me that somebody was upset about what was being said about transgenderism, if that's what it is. And again, we don't know all the details until let's just imagine this is it. That seems like a very abstract thing to be so upset about that you would be willing to kill someone for it.
Fair.
Unless, of course, you love somebody who's transgender. Now it's personal. You're saying things against somebody I love. And I can see now that's the kind of, as simple as that. Might that be enough to cause someone to do, like, I have worked cases for my entire career where someone did something terrible for much less than that. Just upset that night. Just wanted to move on. You think, really, that's Now, I can tell you, I've had several cases where the jurors were like, there's no way somebody should have killed someone for that reason, but all the evidence demonstrated that he did it, so they convicted him. Afterwards, he confessed to it, right? But at the time, he hadn't confessed to it yet. And you're thinking, really, for that little thing, for that alone, you would kill somebody? Yeah. Yeah. So it's really a lot simpler than you think it is. And it doesn't require vast, like, it's not about empires that were about to fall if he lived another day, and this group wanted him dead, and all geopolitical, all world politics were hinging on this one guy. Often it's just something really simple, like, you've said some things about people I love, which I cannot stomach. And there, that's the end of it. And so I don't know that it's as difficult as it needs to be in this case. I always say keep it simple, because it really almost always is.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it too, is that Occam's razor principle too. It's like you don't need to add more causes than necessary to explain something.
Yeah, and there's one thing I think I'm really curious at what your impression of this is. We are in a place where speaking boldly has some incumbent dangers. Like all the people that Charlie loved, many of them were public communicators, influencers. And I noticed that many had already planned their own college tours this fall. Maybe they'd all talked about this, but I noticed that a lot of these folks have got like college campus tours, 10 dates here, 15 dates there. They had planned these long before the shooting. But now they're wondering, well, are these safe to even do? Are we getting to a place? And it feels like, and I just want to encourage people to think about where danger really resides. I think since Charlie was killed, there's this sense that we need to be bold and courageous and fill in the gap. There's a gap now that we need to fill. And I think that's true. And I think, but how did we get to a place in the culture where courage is just how you use words, where true courage is just talking? I don't know how we got there.
Yeah.
There's a group, though, that I know this, just entertain me for a second. It seems like in this noisy world we're in, it doesn't take long for people to forget altogether about someone like Charlie. You might think, oh, no, this is going to ignite a fire. Well, I'm watching to see. Right? I think there'll be many people who will step up, other voices that will come. But I'm part of a group that I'm very sensitive to. So let me show you how fast people forget. There was a man whose job, for the most part, was a public communicator. It was probably like 70% of what he did. He had other duties as well, other things that he did in his job. And at the age of 31, he was always talking to people, often people who didn't agree with him, did not agree with him. They were disagreeable. He would convince some of them, but others he wouldn't convince. But the more he did this, the better he got. And people noticed it. And he knew it was dangerous because often the people he was talking with did not agree with him. And he even talked about how he had saw this like increasing risk. Like he knew what he was doing might someday. 31 years old. Talking to another person, he had talked to hundreds of people like this. When
you know who
he
he's
was
talking about,
shot
right?
in the neck. To be honest, probably the minute the bullet hit him, he was probably dead. But they took him to the hospital, where he eventually died. It was September 10th. It was captured on video. That's what was so shocking about it. You see that kind of an injury captured on video is so shocking. They even had video showing the suspect's escape route. I mean, it was just 31 years old, a relatively young family, a young girl, a younger boy, left fatherless. So shocking it was on video. People called him a martyr. Terrible. Just terrible. The funeral was one of the longest probably ever, and the memorial was it was televised. You can even maybe you saw it. You can even watch it on TV today. The wife was just, I mean, applauded and cheered, but she was committed that she didn't want her husband, she didn't want that legacy to end. A man of faith, a family man, and here she is now raising her two kids by herself. Terrible. September 10th. Yeah. And already he's almost entirely forgotten. and you don't even know his name. His name is Jaime Roman. He was killed on September 10th, 2024. Philadelphia police officer, just doing his job, talking to another, and sure enough, everything I described for you, eerily similar to Charlie.
Yeah.
Only that month, in addition to Jaime, 16 more officers died in the line of duty. That year, another 100, almost 170 died. It was a good year, a low year for police officer deaths. Yet nobody cares. Nobody remembers any of their names, except for their family.
Right.
And this is happening every single year. And if you think, yeah, but cops are also corrupt, do you think every one of those cops was corrupt? Really? I mean, look, nobody hates a dirty cop more than a clean cop. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I have zero patience for cops stupid. I have zero patience for it. Okay, but in the end, it seems to me that is courage really just that we get up and we talk hard? No, courage is the stuff that people in uniform put on every single day and nobody gives a lick about them. It turns out that if you wanted to turn the head of culture, you got to turn the neck of the first responders. And most of these guys and gals are not Christians. They're not. So I just think, as I listen to all the conspiracy theories and how cops are treated and how cops are, they're all bad, they're all, lying, they're all got this thing where they're trying to fool us. Just, if you know a cop, share the gospel with him or her, because it turns out it would change culture. Think about it. You can quickly tell what the culture is like when its first responders show up at your door. If they're jerks, you're living in the wrong place. Wouldn't it be nice if they came to you and they represented the love of Christ? Wouldn't that be amazing? So for me, I always think, hey, I know these conspiracy theories are almost always rooted in the idea that the cops are lying to you. And I think that in the end, I think I have a heart for this because, my dad did it for nearly 30 years. I had my career. My son's now about 14 years into his.
Wow.
And I feel like this is the one part of culture that we have to address. Everyone, nobody wants to defund a fire department. Everyone loves firemen, right? They represent the grace and mercy side of God's nature. But it turns out cops represent the truth and justice side of God's nature, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants truth and justice. But if we don't spend some time making sure that our people who uphold truth and justice also understand what grace and mercy are, we're going to have a rough go of it. So I always tell people, if you want to do one thing that would change all of it, share the gospel with somebody who's in a uniform.
That's great. Okay, well, thanks so much for being here. And before we go, can you just tell people what books that you've written and where they can find more of your work?
Well, I always tell people that you should exhaust everything an author has written for free before you buy anything. So we have a website called coldcasechristianity.com. We post there 3 times a week, and that stuff's available for nothing. And you'll see there a link to our books at coldcasechristianity.com. We've written a bunch of stuff on Jesus and Christian worldview. So I'm happy if you want to deep dive. But I always think, hey, if you actually just go to our website, there's a bunch of stuff there you could read for free. So hopefully you'll do that.
All right,
Shout
Gene, good
out.
to see you again, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
All right. Shout out to John from What Do You Meme podcast. That was great. I'm glad I watched that. That was very encouraging. I like these type of things. So I'm glad we watched that. Shout out to John and John Wilson from Cold Case Christianity. Shout out to him as well. That was good, man. Thank y'all so much for telling me about that. All right. So we have got to, and I just want to get a show of hands, if y'all don't mind. Let me know. I wanted to do the interview where Seth Dillon talks about him being targeted by basically a crazed candy conspiracist. Do y'all want to watch that? I haven't watched it at all. It's on the Dana Lochette show. And I just thought it looks like it might be good. So let me know if y'all want to. Shout out to Bunny Mom. Shout out to the Bunny Mom with the $10 super. What does she say here? Candy has a thing for numbers. I watched the video by the channel, both sides, about how she had something to do with 910. It was really good. Yeah. I have that queued up. I don't have it queued up. but I do have it because I watched it earlier. It was very interesting. Candace is, and that's why I say emphatically Candace is not a Christian, because she enjoys and take part in everything that Christians are not supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be going after running after numbers. We're not supposed to do that. And I'll pull it in. Shout out to Both Sides podcast. This was just interesting. And I thought he did a great job of nailing Candace to the wall, if you will, because he's just asking questions, following her logic that she used and the same parameters that she used to hold other people accountable. What about you? Does that not apply to you? So shout out, I'm going to pull it in a second. But thank you very much for that. First of all, Buddy Mom, thank you so much for the $10 super and the great recommendation. All right, I'm going to just jump ahead and I'll pull in Both Sides. But, we got to clean the palate a little bit. So let's bring in our clean the palate, Mr. Ami Kozak. We're going to bring him back in real quick and see what he's got to say. What's Kozak got to say? Let me know if you can hear this, by the way. I'm getting a notification that my audio is out. So let me pull this in so we can, y'all can tell me if you can hear it or not. All right, let's bring Ami up in here. Gosh, why is he like this? All right, let's go with, it's Tucker Carlson is just spot on. I don't know what else. I don't think he can beat that, man. I think it's Tucker Carlson is right on the money. Can y'all green heart in the chat if y'all can hear? Make sure we got that audio is working. Okay, you can't hear. Okay, cool. Let me bring it back in. So some could, some cannot. Okay, we'll fix it real quick. We'll make it right. We'll fix that. All right, now let's try again. Brought it back in, add to the stage. Let's give y'all some room to tease it out. Let's try it again.
Obsessed with Jews. Why are you always talking about Jews and obsessed with Jews? Like, who are these people who are constantly doing it? I just don't understand for the life of me. Like, oh. And so I just can't understand for the life of me why people are just so obsessed with Israel and they just keep bringing it up. I'm not really that interested in talking about it, actually. I'm interested in a lot of other things. I have a lot of interests, and Israel's barely one of them. I can't understand why people are just like, I'm obsessed with Jews. I don't even care. Obsessed with what? Hummus? It's an Arab food. Like, why are people...
Why does he bring hummus in?
Jews? Why are you always talking about Jews and obsessed with Jews? Like, who are these people who are constantly doing it? I just don't understand for the life of me. Like, oh.
Why is he like...
And so I just
doing
can't
that?
understand for the life of me why...
Yo, at no point at my show did I ever call for the death of Charlie Kirk.
Didn't you start just cursing him out?
Okay, I did curse him out. I cursed. Okay, that much is true. But at no point at all was the death celebrated. And
Everyone can see you and the audience cheering.
no, I didn't mean that. No, well, people were cheering for a song. They weren't cheering for that. They weren't cheering for that at all. And at no point during the show, in any way, was there cause for celebration.
You know that the entire thing is on camera.
Oh, the whole thing.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a twin. Yo, at no point at my show.
It's been a week since Charlie Kirk's death, since Charlie Kirk was murdered by someone who appears to be radically left-wing, and his death celebrated by those who are radically left. And then a week later, what are we talking about? On what you would call, I don't know, the radical right? What is this other dark force talking about? The Jews? Israel? Mossad? In the days after this horrible tragedy, we saw with our own eyes clearly what was there in the elements of the radical left. And now a week later, as these conspiracies mount, as these awful insinuations are put out there, we see this very same thing. What I'm seeing is soul rot and brain rot. The fertile ground was there. It's been catered to and maintained for years. On the one hand, on the left, it was built up for decades by the universities, and on the right, it's been building up online and festered online. We have soul rot on the left and brain rot on the right. And you know who they're not talking about? Charlie himself. Look around. Who's celebrating him? Who's celebrating his legacy and what he stood for? Because I can tell you this, what he stood against was soul rot and brain rot. This should have been a time for grieving, mourning, commemoration, honoring a legacy. And instead, here we are. Soul rot and brain rot. The very things he stood against. Look around. Who is honoring him? And who is disgracing him? Look inside your souls. Look inside your minds. I don't want to have to comment on this further. I wish and I hoped that a common sense of humanity could prevail here. A common sense of the value of civilization, the value of logic, the value of discourse, the value of reason, and more importantly, the value of decency. Don't be fooled. Be better. I think above all else, that's what he would have wanted for all of us. That was the message. Be better. It's been a week.
Okay,
since Charlie
shout
Kirk's
out, man.
death.
That was a little bit somber. That was a little straightforward, but for sure, I appreciate that, man. Shout out to Ami Kozak. All right, I'm gonna pull in. I am gonna jump what I had planned to talk about, which was the Seth Dillon assault, threat. And I'm gonna pull in. We're gonna look at a lot of you all have been checking out, and shout out to Both Sides podcast. I'm gonna pull them in very quickly, and we're gonna look at this one together. And he does a great job of deflating the silly arguments that Candaspiracy brings in to the group chat. So let's get at it. Green hearts in the chat when y'all can hear it. Let's go.
Oh boy, Candace. We missed something and we're going to go back and clean it up. Remember the death threat that Candace got a year ago, year plus now? Well, there was something that was said by her, not by us, that kind of skirted by our ears until we re-listened to it again, and something just went poof off the page. And we're going to ask people some questions about it. Breathe with me. Now, you remember correctly the date that Mr. Charlie Kirk had left this earth, and September 10th, this event happened. However, a odd statement was made by Candace Owens about an event that took place a year prior to on the exact same day. Now, the reason we're addressing it because everybody went back into the time machine to talk about Erica and her sliding down that tunnel in Las Vegas and how the dates matched up and everything. It just seems to point towards that Erica has something. I like how people did that. You know, y'all went, you saw something, you saw the correlation. It just so happened that was on 9/10. Like, look at that. The date says, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Guess what? Candace has the same problem. So if y'all are going to stay consistent, we're going to ask you to put your money where your mouth is and stay consistent. Because if a date being mentioned beforehand and having something nefarious to do with things, I would assume that you would take that mantra all the way home, right? Especially if it had to do with some people that knew Charlie. That's what y'all know. Hear me out. Erica got married, right? Cool. To who? Charlie Kirk. Perfect. That's why y'all make the correlation of this music video she did some time ago, and y'all run down this whole Romanian thing and her relationship with Trump, and y'all did all that, right? Cool. All right, cool. Then I would assume, this is just me. I would think that y'all would have the same kind of passion running down somebody that also was affiliated with Charlie, namely Miss Candace here, and happen to name a date kind of like the video did with Erica, 9/10, September 10th. Okay, cool. She did the same thing, and we're going to play it for you so you can see that we ain't lying on your girl. We don't want to do that. We like being honest. We want to be upfront, clear, concise, to the point. Now, this was in the same video that she made months ago where she was talking about this guy that did some online death threats and he was eventually arrested. Now the thing about it, though, he was arrested, all right, but when he was arrested, it was in what was the date here? October. So he got arrested in October, the 25th of October. And so she had been hearing these death threats, and she had saw one, as her, you'll hear her say, per the FBI, on the same day a year later that Charlie would be assassinated, September 10th. Now, y'all gonna say, well, that's just happenstance. No. We're going to use the same, again, remember what we're doing. We're using the same energy that y'all did with Erica. Okay, Erica, okay. And we're going to apply that to Miss Candy. So let's hear what she has to say. And y'all can hear it from her mouth, not ours. Cool? All right.
Israel, and it caused an insane reaction in my life. Pretty much days after this, YouTube completely demonetized me, and it was led by an account on X called Awesome Jew, who was telling people to mass report my YouTube channel. And we were able to learn that that Awesome Jew account, the person who was running it, lives in New Jersey. Okay. Then on September 10th, and this
What? On what day? No, we got to hear it again. We got to hear it again, just so you know the date before she continues. We have to stop so we don't get caught up in it went by too fast. I didn't hear nothing. I can't have that. Anybody got time for that? We got to hear it all. Back it up there, Candy. What was the date you said? New Jersey.
Okay. Then on September 10th, and this is according to the Department of Justice.
Okay. She said it, right? Cool. September 10th. Okay.
Justice, there was a person who posted a video making threats against my life, saying that he was going to kill me. And then on May 6th, we find out that this individual pled guilty. And after he pled guilty, they finally informed me of the name of this individual, and his name is Chaim Braverman. And yes, he is connected to the Lubavitchers. He said this in his video: "You'll get what's coming to you. I've never met someone that I could effing kill you right now." He then had a steel bat in his hands and said that he was going to kill me with a steel bat. Said that he would beat me with that he wouldn't even stop, that he would kill me until I was dead.
Now, we will never approve of anybody pushing any violence on anyone, especially Candace Owens. Anybody? No, we don't want that. We don't want that. But remember, we've already addressed this letter. But like I said, we missed one thing. And that one thing is very important because it kind of hinges a couple of things for us, okay? So we have a nice framework, and now this hinges a door to it. And the door being that Candace had an affiliation with dates, and the dates matter because that's what people say. People tell us that the dates matter. Again, we're not using our logic. Our logic wouldn't be thinking like this, but your logic does. And because your logic thinks like this, that if there are some sort of a transference of dates to do with something that was going to happen nefariously, then maybe we can think that too, right? Okay, so let's run this down the road. And we're going to do some carbon copy and mirroring and some tracing paper and all that good stuff. Okay, cool. Music video, sliding down the tunnel, 9:10. Okay, everybody ran with that and said, that's kind of odd. You know, the Umar, don't you find that suspicious? You find it weird that they put that in the music video and she just happened to be non-sobbing when it comes to Charlie, and she's so sad, but she's not sad, and she doesn't really mourn, and she's laughing.
One second. We gotta get a shout out to Umar. Umar got a shout out, so we gotta give him a shout out.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
Laughing, and now she's in charge of TPUSA and all that, you know, all that conspiracy that she had something to do with the death of Charlie just by proxy of the music video and not crying. No other reason. There is zero other evidence that you can give me about Erica that would point us to believe that she had something to do with her husband's death. Okay? Now let's put that same piece of paper over Candace Owens. This lady here. Okay? Let's put the carbon copy piece of paper over her. She got jilted by TPUSA, by Charlie, by every other media out there that she was befriending. She, in a video, mentions the date, and it just so happens to correlate with a death threat to her. A year later, her best friend gets assassinated on the same day that she was threatened a year prior. But no one's making a jump to make that about her, and maybe she having an intent to make sure that a death threat was at least followed through on somebody's behalf. Oh, look. I'm not saying she did. I would never say, I don't know. I don't have that proof. Except for the dates. I mean, 9/10, death threats. Fast forward a year later, 9/10, death threat fulfilled. Just not on her. Hey, y'all can say we're stretching. Cool, we might be. But at least we're stretching in your yard. We're at your gym right now using your stretching equipment, and all of the trainers you got, we using right now. So explain to me this. This is the biggest question up there. Yeah! Answer me this. Why is there a separate standard for judging Candace versus judging Erica, when if any of the two had a bone to pick with Charlie, it would have been Candace? If any of the two had some sort of problem with Charlie, it would have been this lady here, Candace. If anybody wanted TPUSA to go up in smoke, it would be who? This lady. For all that he was my friend, and she addressed him, remember, as a colleague, co-worker, work friend, not best friend. You understand the problem? Again, all we're doing is using your logic, not ours. We would go by what people say and do. That's about all we do. But because people like to elaborate and dig down rabbit holes and tributaries and go onto plateaus and jump for their life, we're going to do it too, and have you reason with your own logic that you apply to everybody else and apply to Candace. Now, if we were to go to the full extent of your logic, Candace not only mentioned that date on purpose, but she more than likely had something planned for a year later to get back at Charlie. She saw an opportunity with a death threat coming to her, and she would flip it so that you can always go back and link Jews doing this to her. They would have done it to Charlie. No one's going to be upset if something happened to her. You know why? Because she was always so boisterous against Israel. That'd be obvious. No, you got to take out somebody else. It would have been Charlie. Does it make sense? No? I didn't think it would, because it wouldn't make sense using your logic. But for some reason, when it comes to Erica, it makes all the sense in the world. Yeah. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Kind of odd, kind of suspicious. Maybe y'all wouldn't have thought that had this woman on the screen not mentioned her as an option, huh? You know, suspicious person. People didn't like her. Family didn't like her. I wonder where all that started. You know, she'll come back and tell you, I never said any of that stuff. Never, not me. No. Really? You never did. Kind of like how you never mentioned money, never mentioned Israel as an option for people who took him, and never mentioned the feds. You never mentioned that they were after you. You never said any of those things. Of course not. I don't know where we're getting all this stuff from. We live in a twilight zone, right, Candace? Completely twilight zone. I just want the answers. That's all. We're just looking for someone to come forward and give us a genuine, true, heartfelt, reasoned out, logistical answer to our question. If y'all can blame somebody for a music video years prior to even meeting Charlie, no option to even apply it to Charlie, why in the hell do you not do the same thing for Candace, who had already known Charlie prior to last year? And it just so happens that a date matches exactly a year later, and you're so hell-bound on years and days and months and events that you don't find something suspicious about Candace. That now all of a sudden she's pointing fingers to everybody after the death of Charlie Kirk, but no one's pointing a finger at her. Almost like she's trying to make sure everybody's distracted while she escapes with the golden egg. It feels like an Ocean's 11 type setup here. I mean, look, again, for the last time, we're not doing anything from our own volition here. We are simply applying the people that believe Candace, their logic, including Candace's logic, to her own situation. And I guarantee y'all gonna say something about it's too much, you're stretching, why would you lie on the lady? Are you saying what she would never have anything to do with her friend's death, but y'all quick to blame the man's wife, who he had kids with, to have a hand in his death? Y'all have no problem blaming somebody who actually got with Charlie. Instead, y'all get behind the one woman that wanted to and couldn't do it.
Oops.
She swung and missed.
Danger.
Now she bitter. But y'all gonna listen to that one, but you're gonna blame the actual wife for everything under the sun. She not only that, she a Mason too. When Candace actually said the word Mason, I don't get this, man.
She did
She
say that.
has the dates in her wheelhouse. She said she was a Mason, but y'all gonna say what she meant was she was a bricklayer for TPUSA, which is factually inaccurate as well. Why do y'all do that? Why are y'all so hellbound on holding her to one standard that's above everybody else's, but everybody else gets thrown under the bus, in the gutter, all that stuff? She's what? Is she God?
Ninja Turtles.
Is she God? Is she now what? Your herald from above? Nah, we gonna ask the questions and we want the answers. Please, with all due respect, give us some time. Explain to me the logic we're trying to put to you, since it's yours, how you don't apply your logic to people like Candace, but apply to everybody else and expect them to abide by yours. But you won't hold the one person that's spreading every bit of rumor around and blaming everybody. You won't hold her. We find that hypocritical, and we also find it kind of odd. But you might have a reason. You
Maybe
might
so.
know exactly why you do it and why she's untouchable. And if that's the case, please tell me why you haven't related her statement on September 10th to the death of Charlie Kirk on September 10th, but you relay something that's in the hallway in a music video from Erica when she didn't know him to his death. We look forward to your answer on this one, because I swear, man, look what. If you can give us a real answer for that, then you might have cracked the code as to who killed Charlie. And no, we're not signing off anyone off of the list until proven otherwise. So, with all that being said, please leave your comments in the comment section below, because I guarantee you this much, this will be one of the biggest firestorms we've set off yet. Again, please remember, your logic, not ours.
All right. Shout out to both sides. Shout out. Let me see that comment section real quick. And pull it back in. Let's check out that comment section real quick. All right. Yeah, they're crushing it. Hey, I did comment. I already saw this. Yeah. I commented right here. Shout out to me. Oh, they got some big epistles, man. They got some epistles written in here. Y'all definitely check them out. The Both Sides podcast. Shout out to them. Great content creators. Marlon's been in the chat a time or two before. Shout out to him. Let me see real quick. Thank you very much, MT. What does he say here? Just got back. Did you see Candy plan to do what she's doing to Charlie now with the Kohnberger trial? Word for word, but he took a plea deal. Now with the Kohnberger. No, I don't know anything about this. I got to look that up. Thank you so much for the $5 super MT. I will look it up. Please read this, says Avengers Assembles, who is the stream sponsor, by the way. Please read. Candace's health declined over several months by what she read about super wealthy celebrities and how those same celebrities were set up by super evil people to lose their fortunes. Really? See, that's what I'm saying. Like, the books she reads, man, are wild. But thank you so much for that $15 super chat. Thank you so very much. Okay, y'all, as we round these bases, I do want to bring in the Seth Dillon interview that he did to talk about him being targeted by one of the Candies, one of the people drunk on Candaspiracy wine, the Candaspiracy wine. So let's bring this in, and it looks like I think we should be able to listen to it a little fast so we don't have to be here super late. But I definitely want to thank you so much for the very kind super, sir. Y'all make sure y'all put Avenger in the chat. Thank you so much. All right. Kohnberger brutally deleted 4 beautiful young college students in Moscow, Idaho with a K-bar weapon. Interesting. Yikes. All right, let me pull this in. Let's make sure we get this going. So this is Seth Dillon, and he's going to be talking. He is on the Dana Loesch show talking about him being targeted by a conspiracy. All right, let's go.
A crazy,
Oh, Greenheart's in the chat when you can hear.
really crazy security story where a guy was making death threats against him and was threatening to kill him and his family. A guy lived in Florida. They found out who he is. And then the AG of Florida announced that they were notified of the threats and they got an arrest warrant and they charged this guy, Nicholas Ray of Spring, Texas, with extortion, written threats to kill, and unlawful use of a two-way communication device. And he was apparently motivated by this divide on the right. Seth joins us now via video. It's good to see you, my friend, and I'm glad you're safe.
Good to see you too, and so am I. But yeah, thanks for having me on.
What's
where do you wanna
happening?
start?
What I know, I don't even know where to start. I was like thinking about how we were going to even begin this discussion, and it's honestly not something that I ever thought that we would have to talk about on the right. Maybe that was me being naive, but it's kind of shocking. Tell us what's happening.
Well, in this particular case, this really goes back to Charlie's murder. That's where a lot of this started. I mean, there's some of it goes back before that, obviously, but where I get drawn into this is the origin of that is with Charlie's murder. You know, he was with me and a bunch of other people in the Hamptons back in August. This is about a month before he was killed, and there were a lot of conspiracies floating around about where Charlie was and his position on Israel and how much pressure was being applied to him by the donors and what happened there in the Hamptons. And then some conspiracies, about what happened there were circulating. Candace Owens, of course, being at the forefront of propagating those and painting me as someone who was, a malicious and bad actor who was applying, pressure to Charlie, trying to blackmail him. I was supposedly involved in some meeting involving him and Bill Ackman and Bibi Netanyahu was on the phone offering him $150 million and to get back on board with his support of Israel, and he turned that down. And then guess what? He winds up dead. So there's like this crazy conspiracy that I was caught up into, and a lot of people bought it. A lot of people believed it. Everybody is eager to believe that Israel and the Jews are behind everything, right? Well, not everybody, but the people who are susceptible to this stuff, who are having this shoved down their throats all of the time. They buy into it. And so there was a lot of negative sentiment, and that's putting it mildly, of course, about me because of this. I was someone who was actually personally friends with Charlie. I was at this event at his invitation. It wasn't anything like it was characterized. But that's where the negative attention came from. And so for several weeks, there was just, what happened in the Hamptons, Seth? Why did you blackmail your friend, Seth? What kind of friend are you, Seth? And so I was getting a lot of this stuff. And then it started to, of course, we started to see some more aggressive things coming out with, in this particular case, Nicholas Ray, actually saying that he wanted to kill me because of my involvement in Charlie's death. And so these are false, defamatory statements that were made for the malicious purpose of doing harm to my reputation and putting a target on my back. And people got the message, obviously. So that's how we ended up here. But I'm very grateful. Let me just say before I throw it back to you, very grateful for the prompt and serious response that Florida law enforcement had. The AG took it very seriously. His office took it very seriously. And of course, the prosecutor's office, in seeking that arrest warrant as soon as possible, getting the subpoenas they needed before they could do that. So I'm grateful to them for having our backs. And it wasn't just me, by the way. I don't want to just make it sound like he was targeting me individually. It was several other people were involved in this. And so nasty stuff, very nasty stuff.
It is. And you're right. James Uthmeyer, his AG of Florida, did a swift and great job at mitigating this and getting this guy, because what the guy was doing. This is what we talk about when I think a lot of this, is maybe bot driven, but a lot of it's not. And, like what we talk about with the left, there's only so many times that people can call Trump a Nazi and a fascist and all this stuff before somebody out there who's super susceptible to this picks up on it and does something.
Yeah, it's one thing to talk about somebody accurately, like what they've actually said and done, and report truthfully on what they've actually said and done. It's quite another thing to caricature them, to put words in their mouth that they didn't say, to portray them as being Hitler or a Nazi or something when they're couldn't be further than the truth for someone like Trump and his supporters, the MAGA coalition. Those types of smears do have very negative consequences. Now, if someone's not actually calling for violence, then they're not responsible for whatever violence somebody does, but they are responsible for planting the seeds where there's fertile ground for that kind of radical reaction. And so I don't know why you would do that. Why would you want to do that unless you're just an evil and malicious person? But, people keep asking me how I'm doing, and I'm like, well, I lost my friend, and then I was accused of playing a role in his murder. And now a lot of my other friends are covering for the people who are responsible for those accusations. So I don't really know how to explain how I'm doing right now. And this is a very unusual situation in my life. I've never experienced anything like this before. I don't wish it on anybody.
What's weird to me, and we're talking with Seth Dillon, CEO of the Babylon Bee, about all this, is that, I understand if people want to have a disagreement with, the Israeli government, but I feel like a lot of the people who are saying that but doing something different couldn't even tell you how their parliament is structured. They can't tell you the difference between Herzog and Netanyahu. They have no idea about, the lay of the land, so to speak, over there. And it feels like a veneer for what it really is, which is just anti-Semitism. And it's a bunch of people not a bunch, but some people on the right who are playing into the identity politics of the left. And that's a leftist thing. Do you think that some of this is maybe the consequence of, it's great to have a coalition or a big tent, but there's certain things that are just persona non grata in a coalition, and using identity politics like the left ought to be one of them. Is some of this a failure to enforce that?
Oh, certainly. I just wrote about this in the Free Press, by the way, talking about the foolishness of the no enemies to the right principle. I think it's just, it's not just foolish. It's immoral. To not draw lines, to not be willing to say, there are certain people that you won't lock arms with. A lot of these things, these are things that the right, there was a lot more moral clarity on the right several years ago, where the alt-right, or, this white supremacist kind of like equal but opposite reaction to like the leftist Antifa thugs, like everybody kind of saw that as being this really fringe, really nasty thing that we didn't want any part of. And we distinguished between ourselves and them. We're like, they keep calling Trump, and his supporters Nazis and Hitler and whatever. Like, we're not like that. There may be people like that on the fringe far right, but we're not like them. We would distinguish between now there are calls to join with them and to bring them into the movement and make them part of the movement. And no one so far has explained to me, first of all, how that's morally justified. But also, how is it politically expedient? How does it help us? How could it do anything but hurt us to bring people who are collectivist? Yeah, they engage in these race-based grievance things. They're supremacists. They're just filled with bigotry and hatred. They have authoritarian impulses. They're collectivists. Like, you add all of these things up, and it's like, how could we possibly benefit from having them in the conservative movement? That doesn't make any sense. This is a real reckoning for conservatives to decide, what is our identity? What is a conservative? That's the next question that we need to be asking. We had that question about what is a woman. Now we need to have it about what is a conservative.
I think that's a good point. And what happened to the left when they decided to mainstream the radicals, the street team that they used as an agitated variable to get out the vote? I mean,
well, that's a great cautionary tale, right? Because it wasn't just that they tolerated their extremists. I think, including them in their broad coalition was a mistake. But they didn't just include them; they gave them the reins. Yep. And so you ended up with a situation where, of course, yes, they did accrue a lot of cultural and institutional power with very radical ideas that they were trying to enforce on all of us from the top down. But they pushed too far. Of course, they went so radical that reasonable people, we started to see the erosion of parental rights. We started to see kids being exposed not just to inappropriate materials in their schools, but also this harmful gender ideology that was leading them down a path of destruction and despair and cutting off healthy body parts and all of it. Like, it went so crazy, so far beyond the realm of what's even possible to satirize, that there was natural backlash to that. Reasonable people had only so much tolerance for that kind of absurdity. And I think they'll only have so much tolerance for the kind of bigotry and authoritarianism that's creeping into the right wing. And so I think it's only prudent from a political standpoint. If you're just looking at it pragmatically, it's prudent to draw those lines. But it's also the right thing to do. Let's not lose sight of that. It's the right thing to do, to say, look, This is wrong. You know, glorifying Hitler isn't good. And we shouldn't be welcoming those people. We should be condemning them. And no one should have to ask us to. We should be willingly doing that.
What do you say to people who argue, well, you know, conservatism has never been implemented? That's like the coordinated response from some of these people. And my thought is that one of the reasons that I'll caucus with Republicans, but I don't consider myself a party member, is because they're too left for me. I don't think conservative principles have ever been implemented. Fully Christian conservative principles have never been implemented at the federal level by the GOP. And that's kind of my take on it. What is your thought on that?
Well, I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but I also hear a lot, well, conservatism. Are you trying to say that conservatism has failed? That's the objection?
Yeah, that's what their argument is. I'm like,
Okay,
you have to implement it or try to before you can say it's failed.
Well, yes, you're not wrong. I agree with you there, but it's not the case that right now conservatives are losing. I wouldn't concede that. I do think that conservatives did fail to conserve some things they should have conserved. I think there were a lot of people who were too squishy, a lot of people who were too willing to compromise, that didn't stand their ground on some of these issues, and so we lost a lot of ground because we didn't fight as aggressively as we should have on some of those issues. That's certainly a problem. But I think that, like I was saying, the backlash that was generated by the left's overreach has resulted in some serious and legitimate wins for the right, for conservatism. And, you know, a return of sanity, a return of valuing the truth, reality, staying firmly planted in reality and what's good, objectively good and true. We've seen a lot of victories along those lines. I was just saying the other day, you know, there's a joke I used to tell about how we're so disadvantaged in this fight. It's like being a woman who's just jumped into the pool with Leah Thomas. You know, he's the tall one with the testicles. And so this is like a joke I used to tell about how disadvantaged we are. Well, that joke is old now because Leah Thomas has had those titles stripped, those records taken away. Like we're solving these problems. We're pushing back on these things. And so conservatives, I think, are in advance, and the far left, progressive left, is in retreat in the culture and in the courts. And so we are winning a lot right now. And it's just bizarre to me to be having conversations about how the extreme lengths we're going to need to go to in order to win, you know, put win in scare quotes, because I think we're already winning. You know, like, why would we need to abandon the Constitution, go post-constitutional, and adopt all of these radical ideas
or
to
adopt
win?
Identity politics, because we've been winning without it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop because I've been waiting for a second to jump in. And I love what here 7780 says here. I think Christians need to admit that our faith is never going to be implemented by any political party. That is it right there. That is the problem. The Christian faith is counter culture. And so there are places, of course, where the left runs smack dab, right, plants its face right into the Christian ethic and fails. But there are places where the right does too. The right is not inherently by default Christian. It's more Christian adjacent, more Christian friendly, if you want to use that as a term. But no, the right is not, you know, GOP is not guaranteed Christian by any means or measures. And actually, we saw that earlier in the video where they were talking about some of the plans that the GOP was, or that the right was pushing, like they had the right-leaning trans person and that kind of craziness. Like, just because a person is right-leaning, but they're still violating God's principles. So they could be okay with the GOP and completely wrong with God. So, you know, shout out here. I think this is spot on. This is really, I think, the theme of a lot of the discussion that we've been having is that we as Christians, we're not losing ground. Christianity loses no ground at all. Conservatism, it could be losing ground. It could be losing. But Christianity in Christ loses no ground whatsoever. I mean, the kingdom of God suffers violence, but the violence taken by force. Christ is going to he's going to win. Period. End of day. Catch me outside. So I just want to bring that in because I think that this comment right here really, I think you do a great job. Like, that's a theme. That's a theme of it. Like, the GOP is not responsible for upholding Christian ethics. I don't know if people realize that, nor is the left, really. They're not responsible to. It's really the church and people, the members of the body of Christ, that are responsible for that. So I want to finish this up, but I just want to bring that in. I saw that great comment. I want to give it a chance to shine. Thank you so much. EGenB7780, shout out to you. Let's get back to it. Let's go.
And how is that winning? When you become like the left, how are you defeating the left?
Yeah. So my last question for you, and this is kind of a hard
I mean,
one.
explain it to me like I'm Kamala Harris. I don't
No.
get it.
or Hunter Biden, although he might understand it better.
Dog.
So I don't know how this shakes out, because I know that when everything happened during like the Reagan years, I think maybe I don't think I was alive then, or if I was maybe like 1 year old. I don't have that lived memory of it. I just know what I read, that, you know, that sort of aspect of the right was sort of drummed out. I don't know how that looks currently. I don't know how this dissonance is handled and where we go from here, or how you can even convince people who are adopting, you know, beliefs like this, how they're persuadable to even come away from that. Your thought?
You mean like the people that have bought into some of this stuff?
Yeah.
And
And are promoting it and
especially-
perpetuating it, and, you know, are like quote unquote influencers, or who freak out when you mildly correct them on social media.
Yeah, well, the influence. So there's two problems. There's the young people who are so susceptible to it, and there's the people who are pushing it, the young people who are super receptive to it, and then the cowards in the movement who are, you know, trying not to do anything about it and trying not to confront it head on like they should, like they would have several years ago. You know, there's this popular idea right now that what's really needed more than anything is unity. We can't have this infighting. It's a problem, and I think it's suicidal ultimately.
Yeah.
It's
All
going to
healthy
end up
movements have
destroying us.
debate.
Yeah, it's only going to help the left. It's not going to, you know, like I don't think that a lot of these people actually endorse the ideas, the radical ideas, but they've for some reason have decided that it's necessary for us to have unity with the people that have these ideas. And again, like I said, I haven't heard a good argument for why that would be. I haven't heard. There's certainly no good moral argument for it, but I haven't even heard a good political argument for it.
Yeah. You've taken a beating, and I appreciate you with your consistency, and you've been, you know, a good ally and a good friend. And so we're praying for your safety, and I'm glad that you guys are safe. And, you know, the offer still stands if you want to come and get John Wicked out, you know, come on over to Dallas.
I want to do that. We'll have to work that out. We'll find a spot on the schedule that works to do that.
That's right. We will. Seth Dillon, CEO of Babylon Bee. You can find him on X. God bless you, my friend. Good to talk with you. We'll
God
talk
bless you
again
too.
soon.
Thank you.
Of course.
Shout out to
America's Tap Water is a cocktail
Whoa.
of heavy metals and toxins. The result.
Shout out to Seth Dillon. I thought that was a good segment. Shout out for sure. Thank you so much for that. All right. Yeah, she accused, if you're not familiar, that was Seth Dillon, the founder of the Babylon Bee. And Candace threw his name into the mix and said that he was responsible for Charlie Kirk's, to some degree, Charlie Kirk's murder, which doesn't make sense if you follow all of her conspiracies. That doesn't make sense because, you know, she's blamed everybody under the sun. And at some point, that's the thing that's frustrating to me. Like, why are the Candies still following it? Why are they still stuck to this woman? Because she's clearly making things up. There's no argument there at all. You cannot say she's not making this up. She's making it up. Whole cloth. And why are you okay with that? Like, she's basically she's putting targets on people's backs for no reason. And that's just crazy work, man. That's nasty work. That's nasty work. Putting targets on people's backs. Matter of fact, we're gonna put something new on there. Let's go do that real quick. All right, let's see if we can do this. All right. So we're over here. All right, we're gonna put a target. That's, you know, putting target on people's backs is nasty work. There we go. All right. Can't really see that. All right. Putting targets on people's back. That's nasty work, man. Why are you doing that? Innocent people. They ain't did nothing to you. Leave them alone. You just disagree with them. All right. Wait, I wouldn't mind hearing more from Mr. and Miss. I see what you did there. Macron. That's the last time was fun. All right. Well, we're going to hear from them soon enough. We'll hear from the Macrons on Thursday, right? The 30th. I think we got to hear. I'm sorry, Candace. Candace has to reply to the amended complaint by Thursday. I don't know. Y'all just told me. Y'all just dropped this knowledge on me. I have to look into this. She don't sound like his friend. She sounds like his enemy. In 4K. In true 4K. She sounds like his enemy, man, for sure. But y'all, thank you so much for rocking with us. This has been a fun show. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you all not only jumping into the best live chat on the planet, on the whole galaxy, but thank y'all so much for the very kind supers. Again, thank you to MT. Did I read this? I'm sorry. Just emailed you the link and the timestamp. I did see that. I'm going to check it out and we'll add it to tomorrow's episode for sure. Thank you, MT. Thank you so very much for that. I appreciate it. And again, thank you, Avengers Assemble, for being the stream sponsor. Thank you, sir. Always appreciate your comments. There's Bunny Mom as well. Appreciate you, Amethyst. Sister, appreciate you very much for your support of the channel. There's Marla 5656 in the building. Shout out to you. Thank you so much. We got my brother Eric, of course. Shout out to you, Sir Gail, as well as Teresa. Am I saying that right? Teresa J. I appreciate it. Teresa J. in the building. Thank you very much for that. Also, I appreciate y'all. I think I got everybody. Nope. Got Shayna Ray right there. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all for supporting and just tapping in. It doesn't matter. Just the fact that you hung out with me today means a lot. If you could, I'm about to sneeze, so I'm going to try to hold it together before I make it out of here. Well, and I didn't die. Thank you so much. I am going to read about this case that y'all sent me. I appreciate that. But I will be putting up a community poll just to see if anybody's interested in doing a book read. And I think it'll be fun. I'm going to use Pilgrim's Progress. And the reason is it's a very easy read. It's a great allegory. And we don't have to sit around and parse through verses. And we can just read and enjoy it and get some good discussion going on. I'm thinking about doing twice a month in the month of November, just doing probably on Tuesday or Thursday. I'll keep you posted on that. But I just want to see if the like and the interest is there. If you are interested, go ahead and grab you a copy of Pilgrim's Progress. I told you I was one of my favorite books. I have several copies of it. I have actually this is the modern English version. John Bunyan is one of my favorite authors. And this one actually has Pilgrim's Progress 1 and Pilgrim's Progress 2 in it. So, but yeah, I will, we're gonna go through that. I think it'll be fun. So if you want to, I'll make sure more information is available. So you'll have the dates and, whenever like that and all that kind of good stuff. I think it'll be fun. And check it out. Let's go through it together. Come on, let's have some fun. And then we'll watch the movie. I actually watch the movie all the time. So I just like it. It's a great book. I'll let your audio do it. Yeah, absolutely. Audio counts. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll probably, let me see how many chapters it is. Let me see. Probably do there are quite a few chapters in part 1. So yeah, we'll probably do 5 chapters per lesson. So it'll probably be all of November and December. So I'll nail it down when I put out the information on it so you can join the live stream. I'll make sure you know exactly what we're going to be reading for the first time, the second time, third and fourth. And then of course, if you want to follow along in the audiobook, you'll kind of have a good gauge on where it'll end, what each discussion will be on. So mine's in Spanish, really. I have 3 copies of it, but I don't have a Spanish copy of it. And I don't know why I have so many copies of it. I just like the book. So anyway, I was collecting them at one time. Let me see where I'm missing something. Look like I'm missing something. I think I got it all. I appreciate it. I'm becoming your Bible study. I don't go to church. Okay. Well, I definitely am glad that you hang out with us. I'm going to encourage you to find a church, though. I'm going to try my very best to make that argument in that case. So if you are in the States and you are able to, I try to encourage everyone to find a good church to be a part of. And if that's not possible, then find a good church to live stream from. Okay. But I encourage everyone to be a member of a church community for sure. Even if we find a church in the area and you can watch their live stream because maybe you're not able to travel or whatever like that. But I would strongly encourage that for the sake and the health of everybody. Because I'm over here doing what I'm doing. Y'all don't know me. I'm talking loud off my kitchen in my house. So, yeah, I'm just looking at some of these comments. I appreciate y'all. So I will keep you posted on that. I also put up a community poll about a sit-stand desk. I know I like to research things, and I really want to get a sit-stand desk so I can stand up. So I asked the question: if you have a sit-stand desk, what kind do you use? What are your thoughts on it? Other kind of stuff like that. I got that community post coming up tomorrow. So if you have one, or you have a particular one that you're familiar with, be ready to drop some links, because I would like to know what which one I could possibly get. Man, she already got look, we already got the audiobook for you. There you go. The audiobook is there for you. I'm gonna go in there and watch it again. I got the video too. But everybody, I want to say thank you so much, Future, for that. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Y'all, I want to say thank y'all for rocking with me. Thank you for you hanging out with us tonight. I really appreciate it. We will be doing this again on Sunday. I have a guest coming in, Natalie. Denise will be coming in. We're going to be going over Candace's testimony. And I think you'll have a great time checking that out, hearing from Candace what she understands about conversion and how she became a Catholic, and of course, how that translated into her conservatism. Because I think we saw Natalie. Yes, Natalie Denise. I'll put up the thumbnail tomorrow. I like to put it up no more than 24 hours beforehand, because I don't like it to be out there, but I'll probably put it up at noon tomorrow. So Natalie will be coming on. Natalie Denise will be coming on. We have a great discussion planned there. But it does give you a good opportunity to see that conservatism and Christianity aren't necessarily the exact same thing. And we can see that now when we hear Candace, because you'll hear her explain it and you're like, that's not what Christianity is. So I thought that was great. So we'll have that on Sunday. Tomorrow is Saturday. I think I just got some videos I got to edit. But either way, I'll see you all real soon. Everybody, thank you so much. Make sure you tip your waiter on the way out the door. Drop some green hearts in the chat. If you didn't already hit like, hopefully I earned it. Did I at least earn it, at least to some degree? So if so, go ahead and hit the like button. Let me know what number you are. I appreciate y'all. And we're going to do this again real soon. Until then, everybody, grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Whitt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment, because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.